like most days on my stream, on my
Yeah.
5 minute breaks, I will play chess, be it a 3 minute blitz game or just do some puzzles.
Right.
And I asked you just before we got on, would you ever be a tilter? And I think when I play poker, I never tilt. Super important. Like you don't want to get too caught up in it. I cannot promise that I will not get mad. Now I'll never get mad at you, but I
Hey,
cannot
you
promise
can
that I
get
will
mad
not
at
get
me.
very
I'm
mad at
so
myself.
used to it. Everywhere I go, people are mad at me. So that we're gonna be fine on that. So first of all, like we have to clarify a few things I put in the chat. Your actual name is Fintan Hand. And
Yeah, it
that
is
you
a
didn't
lot of
change your name to Fintan Hand when you decided to become a poker pro, right? I mean, this is we saved just so
no.
everyone joining us. We saved all the natural introductions for being live with you because I wanted this to be organic. How did you get named Fintan Hand? You play
Well,
poker.
one time 30 years ago, my parents had sex. Then they had a baby, and my dad's
Are
second
you
name was
sure?
Hand.
Are you sure? Because when my parents had me, they did not have sex. Actually, it was in vitro. My parents. I was not a child of love. I
Listen,
was a child of
okay.
we need to get divorced, so let's try to have a kid to save our marriage. That was me. I'm a child of
Okay.
this should have happened. I'm actually not kidding. My parents were divorced 6 weeks after I was born. Like, oh,
Really?
Danny wasn't
I
enough to
managed
save the marriage. It's true.
they I managed to hold them together for an extra 16 years, so I've got some
Wow.
time on you there.
Wow. You really wow, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, my dad's second name is Hand. They obviously weren't envisioning that I would potentially be
A
a
poker
professional
player.
poker player at
Yeah.
any time. So here we are.
Well, we've
And
got we've got a whole lot of people joining our little analysis board here. That's the problem when you go live to a stream, people start to see it. Um, but
okay.
I'm watching my chat. Your chat seems happy, right? They can hear us roughly the same. But I'm always like that in producer mode before we're doing chess. Is everyone happy with the level of quality of sound and video before we go further?
So you briefly mentioned it to me that you are one of the owners of chess.com. So do you take charge of are you the tech guy as well? Like do you make sure everyone's on point at all times?
No. Well, it's such a long story. I am one of the owners of chess.com. I've been there for very 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 long. I'm not one of the co-founders. Jay and Eric are the co-founders. I'm one of the very very earliest people lucky enough to kind of get some hands on some equity, you know. I at one point was like the one man band before chess blew up on Twitch. Like we were just doing random streams, and at one point I still take pride in the fact that our first ever like one of the biggest streams we ever had. It was like number 3 or number 4. It was Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen in a final. Of like Grandmaster Blitz Battle Championship. I was literally producing, commentating. That was back before, and I was in a tiny little closet. And at some point, I came out of the closet, and this is what we got. I'm now officially out of
So
the closet and doing shows on my own in a real studio. And we actually have a producer who moved to where I live, which I won't say, just to produce our shows because we're doing that many and we needed them to be higher quality than just me kind of like pulling
I
the
mean, it's
trigger.
been
And
unbelievable. Like I started playing chess, I think in November of 2019. I
yeah,
didn't even know how the pieces moved. I don't know if you've seen the game or heard about it, but my first game of chess was against Botez Alexandra when she had just her king and I had my full board and I didn't manage to win. She managed to stalemate me. So that's what you're dealing with here, Danny. But did you leave at some point? Because when I looked you up, I was trying to find out a little bit of info. I watched your games against Magnus very quickly,
yeah.
and it said that you left at some
But
point.
tell
No?
everybody the first video you saw. So the first question Finton
Yeah,
has
that's
for
what I
me when we
seen.
get on the call is, so like, did you leave? Why did you leave chess.com? Or what did you say?
You're just trying to slide back in now that it's blowing up. You're
Right.
just trying to get back in there now that it's getting all this exposure. That's what I thought.
I was like, no, no, no. That was an April Fool's video. We've done a few of those. But anyway, so before chess.com became a thing, like I was, a kind of professional chess player as a kid, as much as you can be, and then at some point was
14 years
teaching
old, the youngest ever something master. I don't know. I can't
in
remember
Arizona
exactly.
where I'm from. Yeah. But the one is I used to coach all the time, and it's honestly my first love. Whenever I get really going in chess streams or videos, I do love teaching. So I'm legit just personally excited to be here. Like we were talking about it, like what's the expectations? I'm like, dude, the expectations we're just gonna have a blast, and you're gonna get better at chess. And I think that we will not have a problem beating Botez anymore when she is just a king. When we're done,
Okay,
like
listen, we've
that's
done it.
my
We've done it.
goal.
We've done a stream since, and I was put under a lot of pressure by her chat
Okay,
to not
good.
stalemate, but I managed to win every time. As if I love how this is the level I'm aiming for. I'm like, listen, I can win if you give me a
Right.
full board and you have a king.
Yeah.
That's the level we're aiming for.
All right. Well, we're gonna do that. So I see you actually are, like you said, you're pretty active. You play Blitz pretty much every day. You solve puzzles.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to try to do is maybe give you some advice, and as far as like some guidelines, if you took me through a day in the world of Fintan Hand, the PG version, right?
For
If you took me
my
through
chess day, or are you just a life coach as well?
whatever. No, but if you take me through a day, I can be like, hey, like when you log in, like here's some other things you could do. But I kind of like to start out with like some basic positions for some people that are a little bit all over the map whenever I'm getting to know someone. Like I'm getting to know you,
perfect.
and I'm gonna see what kind of positions you're into. Are you into that?
Yeah, perfect. I'm up for anything. Like
Okay.
the one thing I will say is that I have literally zero ego when it comes to any of this. So like, feel free to just like, that is terrible. Don't sugarcoat it. Just like, don't do that again. Just,
Okay.
you don't have to be nice to me. Like,
Well,
I won't take offense.
I just want to say too, like that is like, and I feel like it's weird that I'm gonna say duplicit things, right? I'm gonna say like chess coaches are not all mean. Okay, we're not, and chess
No.
is not like a group of like elitist intellectuals that sit around and like look down upon those who do not understand the game of kings. No, although what's funny is I actually was raised by a racist Russian abusive alcoholic who actually was a horrible influence on my life in many ways. So
Good
while
at
I'm going to
chess,
say
then.
not all chess coaches are abusive, I actually had an abusive coach. So we won't get into
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But okay, we got this. We're gonna clear the board. And so if I asked you like basic checkmates, and one of the reasons as a chess player you want to start with those fundamentals is because it literally is like the guide way of everything, and we can make a million comparisons to it, right? I'm sure in poker it'd be like, what would it be like in poker if you've got pocket aces? Like you got to make sure you win most of those hands because
Just
like,
understanding, I would say, in poker would be the important thing. Just understanding which are the absolute worst hands that you just don't want to get involved with, because you're not going to be able to make money with them no matter how good you are. So
but
something
also,
like that.
isn't there like a fundamentals of? I mean, it's not exactly the same. That's where poker is different, right? Because there's still so much chance, even at the highest levels, like pocket
Yeah, of
aces. I mean,
course.
you could lose it.
Well, I mean, we could play poker right now, and like, even if you've never played before, if things went right and I gave you like a 5-minute crash course, there's a chance you'll beat me. Whereas
Right.
if we play chess for the next 7 lifetimes, I might not get a
Right.
draw
No,
against you.
that's exactly what I try to tell people. So like when my mom used to brag about me, like, my son could beat you in 4 moves. I'm like, Mom, that's not how it works. But what I could promise is like I'm never gonna lose in like a million games.
Yeah.
Like that's what I can
Yeah.
promise, right? But if we start out with like some basic stuff, and I'm like, hey, if you have a basic king and queen checkmate, this is easy for you, right? As white.
King and queen.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I need to line up my. I think I could get it, but I don't think I could get it like in the quickest possible way.
So go ahead and play white. I just turned the moves on. So you go ahead and play white. I'll play black. This is like we're starting fundamental here. And remember, if I ever say fundamental and it's not fundamental for you, that's also not a bad thing. There's no bad.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I mean, I know that I have to line up my king with your king
Okay.
eventually, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to go about it. But I'll just try and push you to the corner.
Okay. We'll play a little bit, and then we're gonna have a little fun. We're speaking of tilting. I was watching this clip video of moments where I tilted as a chess player, but I often tilt over anything anyone does. Like I literally tilt out of my chair when someone else makes a mistake. It's PTSD, man. All right, we'll give you a chance to not fall for okay, so that's good. We made our first mistake. Yep. So so this is gonna help. And the reason we're gonna start with this, as a chess coach, I'm sorry, like I'm not gonna start in the
It's
opening.
fine. I should have put you in check.
No, but I'm not going to start in the opening and like be like, hey man, here's how you trick someone in 3 moves, right? It's just against my Soviet chess school training. Like we have to start with the fundamentals, because the reason you have to master an endgame and you have to start with king and queen is because I put it this way. The moment you are for sure you can mate someone with a king and queen is the moment you can win a game up a pawn. And that's a super important thing to embrace, right? It's like the moment you know that is no longer an issue. Like, I will checkmate every time with a king and queen. You are now at the level where the whole world opens up and we get to start talking about things of even the smallest nature. Because I'm like, look, Fintan, a 1-pawn advantage, you know what happens? That pawn becomes a lady.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm getting messages of abuse.
Ignore your chat.
Everyone
be nice to Fintan.
No, it's nice. Fine. One thing I will say, right, and this happens a lot. When I'm like, so obviously if we're going to do these lessons, like I need to get used to it. But when I do struggle on stream when I play compared to when I play off stream. And that's not just an excuse, but like the general pattern is I will win points off stream and then I will play on my stream and I will lose points. Now, obviously, if I just, here we go. This is This is a very good poker player in the chat saying, imagine if I gave Finton DTO coaching. So he's saying it would be something very similar. Dom, do you know what? Jog on. Yeah, we don't need any nerds
Jog
in the
on.
chat.
By the
Thank
way,
you very much.
in exchange for these chess lessons, will you teach me new ways to jog on, man, bugger off, will you give me some more of those? I gotta increase my repertoire.
You want some UK and Ireland
yeah, I love it.
Banter. Okay,
yeah.
No problem. All right. So I have to do it again, but I don't have to stalemate you. Right, I gotta concentrate.
So, but let me just talk a little bit about the principles, because the goal of this is if we get through it, you're gonna find that with the right approach to things, the learning curve is not what people think at first. It doesn't have to be a 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The pattern recognition in the game, once you get the pattern here, literally you will never have to calculate or doubt another checkmate with king and queen ever again. What just happened, the stalemate, will be a thing of not possible, right? It won't be possible in your brain.
It's the biggest mistake I made at the start. Should I just move my king forward 1 piece, because then I...
Yeah. So in the starting position, your queen was actually already ideally placed, right? Because the moment you get the king cut off to 1 rank or file, so whether that's an H file, an A file, or a rank of any kind, from that moment I can uncheck legal moves and drag the king over here, and then recheck legal moves, and you're literally no matter if I'm teaching little kids, I'm this is a fence for you're like a cowgirl, and this is a calf you're roping in, or this is a force field. Insert unnecessary whatever that is.
Yeah, the reason I when I look at it now, and I was thinking about that, it obviously makes sense, but I just wanted to check to make sure that I didn't stalemate at the start, and then we start talking, and then obviously
I distracted you.
And put you
so I'm assuming that this is going to be pretty simple stuff for you. Don't worry about it. But the reason I want to make sure is because what we're going to do is what I like to do in my Soviet chess school training is I don't go from the king and queen immediately to some of the the queen and rook roll, which is important, the ladder, or king and rook mate. We're going to do those in a minute. But what I like to do is talk about, so once you have a queen, and now I'm going to have you mate me in the fastest version possible from this position. Once we get this down, we're actually going to get to some more fun end games that are a little harder, and we will play chess too. By the way, also remember, this is your show too. If you're Danny, this is great, and you're Soviet chess school the bleep out of me, but I don't care.
No. I know. I don't care. I don't care about learning tricks to 4-move checkmate people either, because
you want to get better, right?
Yeah, it's not going to make me any better long term.
Awesome.
Right? Once you play against someone who knows anything, that's gone.
Okay, awesome. So the easiest pattern for a king and queen is this. The queen should move a knight's check away. So if I said move this queen a square, that if it were a knight, it would be check, move it to a square like that. Boom. So whenever you are a knight's check away, this is just a fun fact, your queen is unattackable by the enemy king. It's not possible.
Okay.
Not chess.com bugs. It's not a legal move, right?
Okay.
So, and you're just going to rinse and repeat that pattern even when it seems counterintuitive. So if I go back, you're going to just stay a knight check away. It doesn't have to be a long move. Exactly. And if I make it seem like you should retreat the queen, that's counterintuitive, but it's actually the best move to just stay a knight's check away. Exactly. This is the easiest pattern to know. The queen goes a knight's check away, and there's nothing I can do. Eventually, we will reach an edge of the board just by my choice. I will choose to either go to the rank or the file. If I go here or here, there's a move. This is the easy one because you've been repeating the pattern that we've been doing.
Honestly, this stuff, when I've never got any formal coaching from anyone, but sometimes when I'm playing chess in the chat and people give me rules, I love rules, because if this is a rule that it will always apply, that will stick in my head and I won't forget that now. That's done already. Obviously,
you're a poker
I don't know
player
exactly.
At heart. The only poker book I ever read was Phil Hellmuth's book, and
that's the best one.
And I got a piece of advice from someone in poker. You either read one book or you read them all. Don't know just enough about electricity to consistently electrocute yourself. Know nothing, whatever. But the Hellmuth book was very simple. It was hey, play the top 10 hands. That's it. Just focus, basically. Don't. Yeah. Anyway, but there were some rules. Is it okay if I have a White Claw? Wait, this stream isn't sponsored by White Claw. I'm supposed to pour it in a glass.
No. You can listen. You can drink on the stream.
But my sponsors that I don't have always yell at me when I give free advertising. 1 second, sponsors that I don't have who yell at me.
I'll have another drink with you in a little bit, Danny. If H will have. Are you going to bed? You going to bed? You're not staying up for my super exciting. I'm about to become the best chess player in the world here, H. Yeah. Danny's already taught me something I didn't know. He did.
This is gonna be so much fun, by the way. So this is.
I just told my fiance, just so you know, that you're gonna make me the best chess player in the world. So no pressure, okay?
Oh, it's
Okay.
but the thing is, it's not untrue. It's just maybe not totally
We
true.
might run out of time,
We
and
don't run out
that
of time.
time will be life at some point. What's the highest rating you've ever got to? Can I ask that?
About 2,500.
Oh yeah,
So I'm
it's
not a
pretty high.
Hikaru. I'm.
Yeah, I
If we're
mean, there's
talking
only.
Blitz on chess.com, we'd have to go to my profile. I mean, what is my what does my profile tell us? We go there
When you say
together. We find
25,
out what are my top my top Blitz ever is no, that's not my top. My top Blitz is 2632. My
okay, well,
top
I got to like over 1,000. So like, I'm not saying I'm gonna catch you, but if I keep going at the same pace, it could
right.
take another 6 months. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
My top puzzles is 2894. But you know, I stopped trying to play chess as much. Let's not make excuses for Dan. Okay, so we're going to go forward. So I just gave you a rule. Now, here's the only exception. Because every rule has exceptions, right? So,
Yeah.
so I moved here and it was easy to follow my knight checks pattern. The one
Yeah.
exception is you don't want to you can never be a knight check away from the corner because what happens when you go to either one of these squares?
Stalemate. I'm class at
Right.
stalemating people. Right?
What?
Is it stalemating?
Exactly. If you
No.
go to one of these
No.
squares, you can visualize that position in your head. I have nowhere to move, right? So as
Yeah.
soon as I touch down on an edge of the board, all you're looking for is the fastest move to keep me on the edge. So now the queen can move diagonally or even go backward. Any of these moves work. You can go here, right? So
Yeah.
just visualize your favorite square of where you want to put the king, and you've done your job. So
My okay.
go ahead, choose a square before I go.
Oh no
forward.
no no. I did you said the king? Do you mean the king or the queen?
The queen. You want to trap the king on the edge of the
Yeah, yeah.
board.
If I was trapping him, I would go here.
Brilliant, perfect. That's my favorite. That's the best. And the reason is it's
Okay.
optically the easiest for your king to just come forward, right? And you're going to get to right here, and it's going to be checkmate on g7, and there's nothing I can do about it, right? My legal squares include f8, g8, and h8. So where young people, so I have to give the both rules, right? So a knight's check away is the pattern of the queen. Once they get to the edge of the board, you want to actually stay away. I've used this rhyme a lot. Now you stay away with the queen. In fact, sometimes with kids, I'll prove it to them by going, here's how many moves it is to checkmate. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the queen lands on a checkmating square 6. Even if you go here, so 6 moves away from checkmate, just to prove the point. Queen goes as far away. We stay away, right? We stay away. So other than that move, again, it's going to be 1 no matter where my king moves. I'm not a football player. I can't juke you. I have to choose. So you know where my king's going, and if I go here, you'll go here, and if I go here, you'll go here. The point is, I didn't count it out, but the point is, it was the same exact number of moves to checkmate, minus
Is there a
the one
is there
unnecessary queen move.
okay?
Does
This obviously makes
that
sense.
make sense?
No. This makes 100% sense.
Okay.
Is there like a checkmate where you need to line up your king with the king? Because it's obviously not this one. Because I thought it was this one.
Yes, that's the king and rook checkmate. In
That's
the
the
king
king
and
and rook.
because
Okay.
the king and rook because the rook does not operate on the diagonals, your king
Yeah, that
has to
makes sense.
operate much more accurately as a shouldering, meaning the king has to be
Mhm.
directly opposing the enemy king, or there'll be a way out, right?
Okay.
You can imagine that if we bring the king up here and the king moved to e8, and if your only check was like a rook, not a queen, which controls the diagonals, then he gets out.
Yeah.
So in that
Yeah.
checkmate, you have to have the king directly lined up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Is that okay?
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
So
that
again,
makes
if we restart, like here's my goal.
Do you,
as a
I'm
chess
sure you don't
coach.
mind this, but do you mind if I record this so that in case
Dude,
I forget anything?
I'm recording my
Okay.
VOD. You can just have it. I mean, do you
Oh yeah,
not
true. I
record
have
your
the
VODs?
VOD. I have no. I do. Of course I do. I've never watched one before of my own VODs, but I will
Dude.
watch this one.
That's the best kind of VOD. Never watch it, and especially if you're the DMCA. Don't ever watch people's VODs. Stop watching people's VODs.
True.
So we just learned a couple things, right? You could have done the same thing and approached this way. You could have done it this way if you were into it. Queen goes a knight's check away. Once we get to the edge, once we get to
That's
the
sweet.
edge of the
Watch your
board,
queen.
you stay away. Meaning the moment they touch, you go as far as you can away, as long as you're cutting it off, and you've done your job. Now it's just a matter of time before the king comes up, and we mate. Every single time, forever, we will do it this way. And what was the common mistake you made in the first one? In addition to, like, remember the first move wasn't the best, the main thing was what you tried to do is a very common thing people do. You were trying to use the king and the queen at the same time. So you were like,
Yeah.
move the queen, then move the king, move the queen, move the king. And what that led to was the position you got where they were kind of stepping on each other's toes and you stalemated me, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Cleanest way is queen stays a knight's check away. When we get to the edge, you stay away, and then the king finishes the job. King comes in to protect the queen, and we're done. That's it.
Yeah,
Every single time.
This rule makes me very happy. I like
Yeah.
rules, especially when they seem like they don't have too many exceptions. The one exception being that it happens every time. That's no problem.
Yeah, the one exception is that when the king gets into the corner, right? We'll just make it easy. When the king gets into the corner, you got to stay away. Now you go to any other square that cuts the king, and we rinse and repeat. You do look like you have a healthy head of shampoo. That's a joke I make often. You look like you have pretty good hair. I'm always balding, right. So I'm always, I'm always.
I feel like chess players, like, I don't know, maybe they're just, I don't know. A lot of the chess players I've seen, like, they seem to be balding at a young age.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe you're onto something.
I don't know. Maybe it's just smart people.
How can you say that? Poker people are like living a higher stress life.
I don't know. I read an article that it's never been studied for poker because poker is not as socially acceptable as a mainstream. But something about burning 6,000 calories, like, which seems physically impossible when you just sit there playing chess for a full day because you're thinking so much.
But it is true. Like the mental exhaustion can burn a boatload of calories. I didn't know it was 6,000 calories in a day, but
that seems crazy. It seems wild. You disappear.
Right. So anyway, the thing about the king and queen checkmate is while it's not the easiest checkmate, so therefore it shouldn't be considered the most basic. Like if we add what
it seems pretty easy to me compared to me seeing loads of pieces on the board and trying to remember all the things. Like this seems straightforward.
So it's very straightforward. Oops, I'm grabbing the wrong rook. I'm sorry. Grab a white rook. We're gonna put the queen here and go here. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of a storyteller when I'm teaching. So like we're gonna talk about why the king and queen checkmate is so important for your chess. Building your chess muscles the right way. A more basic checkmate, though, to know, and this is a very important one, is the ladder checkmate. So ignore the king, and if you, in fact, I'll take the king off the board.
I hope I can get this one. If I can't get this one, I give up. No, I don't give up. Yeah, I'm joking.
No, so this one is we're literally working. I'll play black, you play white, right?
Yeah. So move.
Yeah, go ahead. Right? And I'll prove something by coming real close. As close as I can get with the king. I'm right up in your grill. But can you still play the next move? Exactly, because the queen always protects the rook. Right? Yeah. So the perfect ladder is the rook leading the way and the queen just kind of completing the process. Call it the ladder checkmate. I've heard people call it the like the snow plow, like a push broom. I think Mike over on Chess Kid, our Scholastic site, calls it that. But the point is, if you ever are a funny thing that can happen is you've played a long, tricky game, right? And somehow at the end of it, you've got some random position like this. This like, I swear this probably just happened in our last PogChamps, right? Like you're just crushing and you're white, right? And in this position, what do you think is a move you would play here? Go ahead. Well, so you're white here. What is a move you would play? I mean, we have so get a new lady, right?
It's not giving me a choice to do it.
Oh, it's because okay, let me redo it. Okay, I know. We're gonna redo it. So we're just gonna add the queen. So you've gotten a queen, right? Now it's black to move. Yep. So one of the things, it sounds easy. It sounds easy to why is it doing that? Try to play white to move now. Yeah, but it's for some reason it's not actually. I love running into bugs on camera. It's my favorite thing.
You got sword. Good night.
So hold on. I'm gonna reset, and I'm just gonna set up that same position again.
No problem. Can I ask you a question while you're doing that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Someone in the chat wants to know what the average rating of a New York chess street hustler would be.
The average rating. Okay, go ahead and play white now. See if you can get a queen. Sorry, and then I'll answer.
No problem. Just like I just want to know. No, it's not giving.
Still not letting you?
No, it's so what's happening is give me the option to pick, and then when I pick, it's just not changing.
Okay, I'm refreshing. See if that works.
No problem.
It's still not working. This is great. I am just irritated about it.
A bit of patience.
Okay, legal moves only. So, that's funny, and I would, if I had to guess, I would say like 1,500.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that they're basically pretty decent tournament players in the sense that they're hustling and good enough that they beat a lot of the Like a 1500 player can almost always beat that person who comes along and is telling their girlfriend, like, I used to be pretty good when I was a kid. I beat my grandpa like every time, and what I heard about my grandpa was he was good. So I just never know. I just assumed I'm good, right? This is a very common story you hear, right? Like, I don't know how good I am, all right? But she's like, come on, play, show me, right? Like a 1500 can almost always beat this dude, right? And that's where they make their money. And so that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. But they're also not good enough that any time, like, you know, if someone comes to Hustle the Hustler, like, exactly. Now, there are exceptions, right? There are guys that are master level plus, and every once in a while you get those, like, crazy stories, like a couple of people throwing down who were really good. But for the most part, that's the deal, right?
Okay.
So when I make moves on the board, you can see the moves I make. Okay, by the way, it's reset now.
Yeah.
So now you go ahead and make any move. I don't know why I had to refresh. There's some random bug, but I don't have the time to report right now. So make any move you want with the queen. You can make the move I did. I kind of told you a good one. Okay, great move.
I did. I actually didn't see you doing it. I'm not just saying that.
So the reason this is important to talk about is because the ladder, the queen rook roll, whatever you want to call it, is a very common thing that happens after you're beaten someone and you're converting on the end game. And now, but in a real life scenario, you don't have a ton of time on the clock. If you were going up against anybody who was roughly equal to you, there's a very good chance that you don't have 30 minutes at this point, right? If you're playing Blitz, you might have, like 15, 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So often what happens is people are just randomly not looking for the pattern that they can, like, pre-move, if we're using online terms. Like a pattern that you can basically just check out and it just plays itself, right?
Yep.
So the reason we learned that ladder pattern I just showed you with the queen and rook when they were operating here with the rook in front and the queen behind is because regardless of whether it's the most efficient checkmate, the first thing a great chess player will do will be to look to get that ladder where the queen can support the rook, and it's just a walk in the park from then on out. So what you did was good.
So this is the best square then?
No, yeah, but queen d8's also fine, right? You can make any move.
Okay.
And the point is, and almost any check here is going to lead to a forced series of checkmating moves. But one of the things that I would not, like, frown upon someone for doing, just to prove the point, is if they went here because they're eyeing this square, and then even if they went here because they've created a queen and rook ladder, and now all you have to do to checkmate is just walk the king to the edge of the board. The other ladder you created was this way. And by the way, it works both ways because the queen protects the rook, the king can do nothing, and it's oops, and that's a stalemate, and that's a ladder. Okay, because I was moving too fast. But I want to prove that point because this is really good practical advice and good chess advice, meaning know the patterns that you know and just play for them without trying to find. A lot of times, improving chess players, I gave this tip to my producer, Aaron, who he said it actually really made him start winning more chess games, is I said, dude, once you're this winning, it doesn't matter what the best way is to win. All that matters is the easiest way to win, right? Mm-hmm. You're not a computer. That's not the point. So I don't care if the computer says there's a forced mate in 4 here, because the checkmate that I knew, the reason I played queen d4 is because the first square I spied was rook e5. Now notice I
would have played this before you'd said this to me. Like, if you hadn't told me about this pattern, like, this is where I would have went probably.
Right, like, and then you might give another random check maybe, like with the rook or whatever.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not a bad.
Much.
You're so winning here, it doesn't matter, right? But would you, like, after this check, would you instantly have recognized the bam, 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 like ladder, or would you be looking for another kind of check, right? That's what happened.
Just been checking.
And so
would have been checking and panicking.
So all I'm trying to establish for you, as far as like chess building muscles, is pattern recognition eventually becomes like you look at a poker table and you're not just seeing the cards that you have and the cards you think they have. You're looking at betting patterns. You're calculating like the pot size. So there's risk reward ratio based on whether you're pot committed at this point. You've also been keeping track of multiple hands. So you're like, I've got him on this because of this previous play. So you see a language that I don't speak. As at least not as easily, right?
I'm so glad that the chess guys don't play too much poker. God damn it, we would be rinsed out.
Right.
But anyway,
so I look at it. I'm kind of aware of a lot of the elements of a pattern, right? But I don't look at it and see a language. Just like if you don't speak French, you might look at a book that's in French, and even if you don't speak it, you can tell that there's a pattern to the language, right? So the goal of
100%.
like, that's why I say mastering chess is much more comparable to mastering a language for people if they approach it that way, which is like, start with building patterns where all of a sudden you start looking at a board and seeing things that you didn't see before, right? It's just seeing how things come together. So, all right, I'm getting somewhere with this. This is how we're not going to do endgames in every lesson. In some lessons, we'll do other themes, whatever you're
Listen,
into.
I'm happy to do whatever you think the most
Okay.
important things are, and the things that
Okay.
are like, honestly, the things that are going to give me the most rules, and like I can just learn them and apply them. Like I
Okay.
would be happy with that. I'm happy with whatever.
Shout out to the St. Louis Chess Club who just raided with a party of 37. Sorry, on my stream.
Nice.
I know
it's all good.
we're not totally like, because whenever you're doing a dual stream, you try not to like be distracted with your
No,
own
I
chat.
understand. It's all good.
That's really just
Appreciate
my
it.
excuse because Chess Bay and BJH yell at me. I'm always ignoring my chat. I'm never, and so that's my excuse now. Is that when we're dual streaming, I don't have to read chat. So do you understand where I'm coming from? If we like clear the
100%.
board and we do a, a basic ladder position, and it's white to play, and go ahead, just do the ladder again for me. Just
So
just 'cause
I
it's so
guess
sweet.
I guess this is kind of why like I always hear like people when like you're up a piece, like you try and start swapping pieces so you can simplify it as much as possible and get it to
Yep.
a position where you're going to
where
have these
there's no
options.
distraction, right? And this is a good example of. And now remember, you can also do a ladder with the queen in front, and
Okay, so what changes if the queen's in front?
so
Right.
if there's nothing else on the board, nothing, because the
Okay.
well no, actually, you just have to. Sorry, so I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm gonna turn off legal moves. I'm gonna put the queen here, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn legal moves back on, and now go ahead and play the same rook move. Sorry, the same rook move here.
Yeah,
So what changes is what happens if you go here.
you can take my queen.
Exactly. So but guess what? The only difference is one move here by the rook, and you've made a new ladder, and the queen is where she should be behind the rook. I'll see if you. Boom! Look at you. These poker players are smart. Now do it for me, baby. Come on. Oh, talk dirty to me. Come on. There you go. Oh yeah. Look at you. You're good. You're
I'm
good.
not good, yeah, but if you
Look
keep
at
telling
you.
me these magic tricks that when I went and done a stream with Alexandra Botez, she didn't even tell me a stalemate was a thing. She just used me for content.
I
That's all
recently
she did.
impressed. So I have 4 kids. I don't know
Yeah.
if you have any kids. Probably
No,
not.
no, not yet.
Okay. I've got 4 kids, and so whenever I impress my older kids by like saying something that's like not cool, because I say that's not cool. If I say like the other day, like my older son was acting like an idiot, and me and my younger son making fun of him, I was like Omega lol, and they both looked at me. And then like the other day, I was like, look at the 5 head on your dad, and they're like, 5 head? How do you know what a 5 head is? You're get out of here.
Old man.
Anyway, so look at what you did. You got a 5 head now. So the point is, you were in a position where the queen was leading the way on the ladder, and you quickly flipped the script and allowed the rook to lead the way. That's awesome. So and the reason that's important is, now you don't probably think like this, but a lot of grandmasters do, because in a bullet time scramble, you are now able to pre-move this out. Meaning, like, do you use pre-move on chess.com?
Yeah, no, I understand how it works. yeah.
So you sorry, and if I ever say it like that, forgive me. I'm not trying to.
No,
sound,
not at all. No,
so,
it's a fair question.
For a very long time, whenever I would work with like kind of a just starting out chess player, you would never use these terminologies or ask if they know about pre-move. But
Of
now
course.
online chess is what you think of first. The point is, you could actually make every one of these moves in advance. Like, you don't sit there and wait. So that's a 0.2. So that means you could finish this game in 5 point seconds. So you could have less than a second, and you just pre-move those all out. And the point is, it doesn't matter whether he goes here, 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 and here, or if he runs this way. Like, it's literally the same
checkmate
checkmate. You're pre-moving it out, and the game is over. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just so. This is why I lose bullet every time. I can't even. I've got like fat hands. I've got fat fingers. So does that make sense? So the ladder is a super important critical checkmate, and if and when you've just converted on a long end game, super important that you've got that goal in your head. You're like, all right, I just got to make that ladder, and even though I'm in this tight spot, Danny told me, and I only got a few seconds, but that's all I need. Where's my ladder? Create it and do it. Right? Game over,
No,
baby.
perfect. No, that makes lots of sense.
And then the king and
Nice.
queen one that we started with was more like, so if I go back to no legal moves, we're back to this one. So obviously you're probably not going to have a lot of games where you legit have a king and queen here and a king in the middle of the board. But we
Yep.
start with that just so you learn the basic pattern. Queen goes a knight's
Yep.
check away, and you do your thing. Then you stay away with the queen, you finish it. The reason we do that is because really the end games we need to start mastering in order for us to start feeling like we're ready for tournament chess are king and pawn endings. And so we're
Okay.
going to start with a king and pawn ending here. And I'm gonna let you play it just like I did the first one. I know the first time I did that
Okay.
you stalemated me, but hold on,
Okay.
I believe in you. Are you having a good
It's
time
not
with this,
that-
by the way, or am I driving you
Yeah,
crazy?
fantastic. I loved it. No, 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 no,
Okay.
no, no. I like the way you're talking and the way you're coaching rules. Like if you're just like not giving me stuff that I could like remember easily,
Yeah.
like it will probably be a waste of time in the sense that not a waste of time. I'm sure I'll pick up things, but you've told me two things now that I know for a fact that if I get myself in a situation, I might, if I was in a time scramble, I might still accidentally stalemate the queen in the corner if I forgot like doing it very quickly. But
Right.
like, if I had time, I would just move my king. I can't do anything right now. It's not letting me.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's black to move. So I'm gonna move and give you a chance to just play white here and try to convert. So you're up a healthy pawn, and the
A healthy
goal.
pawn.
Sorry, a healthy pawn. So it's important to say that.
No, no, I just no. It's just that I think I'll. I know my plan is to get
Right.
the pawn up the other end of the
The
board.
plan is to get a queen. Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
right,
of course.
and I'm only letting you practice it once because it'll help as we do it, and you might do it from start to finish before. Just because someone needed a reset on some basic stuff, I never want to assume. You may have the idea.
Yeah.
The best clue I can always give is kind of like the intuitive advice I gave you with the king and queen. You don't need
No, I
to
need to
use
protect the
both
pawn.
pieces. You don't need to use both pieces with the king and queen all the time, right? The queen kind of does her
Okay.
job and the king comes in. The right way to often convert on this is to allow the king to make progress and only use the pawn when you need to. So it's not going to be the same
Okay.
level of extremes. Obviously, you can't leave the pawn totally behind, but keep that in mind, okay? The goal is to keep the black king off balance when we move up the board. So
Okay,
I will
well, I
play.
definitely would have screwed it up if you hadn't said that.
Okay.
See, I'm already scared that I'm gonna mess it up. Have I gone wrong already in the theory of it?
Do you want me to tell you if you've gone wrong already?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Okay, you've already got wrong. You've already gone
Okay.
wrong. But
I feel like
we're gonna learn why. We have a very, very easy step process we're gonna learn here, and you're gonna be mastering this one in no time.
okay. So if am I continuing to go wrong? Like, are you gonna be able to just block me off and take my pawn? Right, that's what's gonna happen here.
Well, basically, finish it out so you can see how it goes, because you'll
Yeah,
start.
but I just realized that I'm like the king should be ahead, right? At this
Exactly,
moment.
the king should always be ahead of the pawn. The king should always
I
be
can't-
leading the way. But
Can I do that now?
but you've
Like, could I
already
save it from here?
you already messed it up right here when you gave me what's called the opposition. So, the opposition in chess is whenever the kings are directly opposed by an odd number of squares. So,
Okay.
that's a little bit abstract at first because eventually you get into things where you start to recognize long distant opposition, irregular opposition, where like kings are here and who the bleep has the opposition, right? We don't need to get into any of that right now. But the point is,
Okay.
an opposition is when the kings are opposed, right? So the word is
Yeah.
self-explanatory, and someone has to give ground, right? Or if you're the defender, all you're trying to do is maintain ground. Okay?
Yeah.
So to start at the end game, you had the opposition because it was black to move, and my choices were either to concede ground or to move to a side, and whichever where I go, you take the other route. You're taking the ground that I conceded. So opposition, this
So
tool.
is that, can I move into that? So
Yeah, so
Can you
I'll
move
go.
the king into that
Let's
square?
do what we did again. Go ahead and come forward.
yeah.
And then when I went here, the right square to go to was. So you can go there. You haven't blown it yet, but
Okay.
You-
Haven't blown it yet, but you're about to.
here's why. Because the only squares you care about are the squares directly in front of this guy. So the point is,
Okay.
if you take this square, I'll let you figure it out, right? Because if we go here and I go here, are you going to go here and take this square that I gave up?
No.
Probably not, because you're going to give me a straight path to your pawn. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is use the path in front of the king to take the square I give up, and as long as you stay within the files of the pawn, you'll always be able to protect him up the board. So one way to do this is actually backwards to forwards. I'm going to show you something real quick. Stay with me here. So we're going to undo legal moves. We're going to go here. And it's black to move, and we're going to put... So now, put it this way. This is your goal in every king and pawn ending, and I want you to remember this. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th, always wins the game.
Okay.
Say it with me. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th
wins the game.
Always. I like to do it like a dance. You're a little more stiff. But
you're a preppy North American guy. I can't be doing that
on
at 2
the 5th.
Oh,
what always wins the game? Okay, no matter whose move it is, it always wins. Okay, I'll get to the exception later, which is great. Don't worry about it. Okay. But it always wins the game. So here's how this works. I'm opposed, and I have to make a choice. And when I make a choice, you will take whatever square I've given up. And as long as you're within the adjacent file of the pawn, like so in this case it's the E pawn, so the F and D file, you're just going to march the pawn up the board. So watch this. So I go here. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I want to go over here. No?
No, you're doing right. Do your thing. Now guess where we've come as a unit, as a coach and a student. Guess where we've come. Do I need to make sure you know this checkmate from here on out?
No.
No. Guess what we're doing? We're building muscles, baby. Right? Because I'm legit serious. Do I need to make sure you know this? Let's practice it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Like, you do it with the
moment.
Remember, you can always give a check. You can break my rule to start. You might give a check or something, but overall, you know the pattern. The queen's going to find that rhythm of a knight's check away, and you're going to push me to the edge.
Is it a waste of time to go down here?
No, that's actually the best move. You just freaking found the best move, brah. Do they call people brah in England? I don't think they do.
Well, I'm from Ireland, but they don't do it in Ireland or England. Usually when we're taking the piss out of American people, maybe, but not in a serious manner.
So do your thing, dude. Do your thing. You're gonna rock 'em, sock 'em robots. People are gonna be witnessing your chess growth if they watch these streams from back to back and be like, "Oh my God, Fintan is a chess god." All right, you're okay. Keep going.
So I've got it to here. Now I don't want to do it.
But you're not stalemating me, right? Because I'm not in the corner, so you can still go to the square.
It still makes sense to go here, right?
Exactly, right? But now would you keep going closer?
No.
You don't need to. Exactly. Yeah. Do your thing, brah. Exactly. Okay, if we were making fun of Yasser Seirawan in the chess world, we'd say, exactly, Jen. Exactly. Okay, there you go. So here's my point. What we just did is now guess what we're at the end of today's lesson, your mind is going to be blown by all of a sudden you didn't just learn 3 positions, you learned 3,000. Okay, because this is how this works. So king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th always wins the game. If what I said is true, we didn't just learn this position. We also learned this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one.
But just does the principle change? Okay, so I understand it from here, right? Because you've got to give up a square. I go the opposite way, and then I march the pawn through. But from it, how do I get you to that?
So yeah, so we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, right? There's a reason So a very common thing, and from a chess coaching point of view, and this is very much the Soviet school of chess, which I was raised by, as I said. Racist Russian abusive alcoholics. Not all.
Sorry, I know it's not really a laughing matter, but
my
it's
coach
just the way you
was.
say
It's not a laughing matter. It's not a laughing matter at all.
Sorry. See, here's the difference, right? I seen one of my friends' girlfriends put this on Twitter the other day, and it's like Americans cry about their problems, but the UK and Ireland laugh at their problems.
Right.
And it's just like when we get told something horrendous,
it's the same problem.
Like, our reaction is just we fucking laugh. Like, we can't help it. We just laugh because that's how we handle it.
Right, I get it. So we'll talk about the pattern to get there, but the main thing I want you to understand is so here's what we've done. We've mastered the king and queen checkmate. It didn't take you very long, right? Yeah. Doesn't matter. By the way, when you got that queen, let me just get to there. If you never panic if I'm ever not there, right? Just because you didn't play this move first, it doesn't mean you're not gonna if you made some random check because you're nervous. All you do is go back to the patterns you know. Right now, you can go back to the knight's check away again. And you can push them the same way.
I'm never ever gonna not see. The thing about it is I'm never not gonna make the check that is that check because it's the only one I know for 100% that I'm not gonna fuck things up. I know if I slip up or whatever, but I'm just gonna go there every time.
But I'm gonna point out you found the best move. You went to the pattern that you know and you moved the queen and knight's check away and you did great. But what I'm pointing out is now that you understand this pattern, knight's check away. When you get to the edge, the queen stays away. King finishes the job. Just 3 steps over, right? It doesn't matter if you ever make a mess up move, right? Like a random check, or you made some silly thing because you were nervous. Just find your ability, no matter where they go, find your ability to make that check. Find your ability to get that queen and knight's check away, and you're golden. So now all of a sudden you don't just know one version of king and queen. You know every possible position of king and queen. You've done it. You just mastered hundreds of positions. Now we talk about the king and pawn ending. So we now know that the king on the 6th pawn on the 5th wins. Now, I told you that it wins, and I showed you the easy version where the king moves and you take the square. Now I'm going to show you the hard version. The thing that you have to embrace about this is that even if it's white to move, so I flip colors and it's white to move, as long as you got king on the 6th and pawn on the 5th, not the other way around, not pawn on the 6th, king on the 5th, it's the one version where you get to break the rule of king and pawn endings. And the rule of king and pawn endings, which we're going to back up to, I already foreshadowed earlier, is you never move the pawn in front of the king. The moment you move the pawn in front of the king, you're always conceding opposition to the opponent. But the timing of the board, because of the geometry of chess, the fact that there is no 9th rank, right? The fact that the board ends means that this is the one position that's an exception where you get to move the king. They stay with you, and it's the one position, they call it the squeeze, where you can march forward blindly, and this is called zugzwang, right? The king has to move, and you take the square that it gave up as if it was the other position. It's the same thing. Do you guys have a term for zugzwang in poker?
No. Oh, well, maybe, but I
do you know what zugzwang means?
No.
So zugzwang is a word that was invented purely for chess and I think it's been applied to other things, but mainly a chess word. Zugzwang is German, and the direct translation is like literally move compulsion, meaning you basically would barf in your throat because you have to make a move that you don't want to make. There are actually hundreds of positions in chess that only win because of zugzwang, meaning if the person could say pass, it wouldn't be a win. So here's the deal. You move the king, they stay with you, and the zugzwang will always work out that the king has to move. He's not allowed to say pass, and you will always win.
It doesn't make any difference if he goes the other way, right? Actually, zero difference. It just means we just march through straight quicker.
Which way?
If he goes, so if the black goes to the my left, you're right.
Like here.
So it makes
Instead
it
of
just makes it easier, right?
So first of all, if you want to go back to the pattern, what is this exactly like? This is just like the previous position where he moved, and you could take this square if that makes it easy on your brain, and then the pawn goes marching on because the king holds every square. So that's one way. But yes, I can tell you that optically, even though it looks weird because he's like ceding unnecessary territory, the timing here still works out that the pawn can just push blindly, and it will always be the case. You can trust me. Okay.
No, I do. Don't worry.
No, but I'm telling you this because it's going to be funny. As we back up, there's going to be moments where you learn the other principles that seem harder, where you're going to be like, wait a second. Danny said king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th was always winning, right? This seems weird. Because the exact same idea that we just did, meaning if you're in this position and it's white to move any earlier, here's how we prove it. Watch this. Okay, we go here, and it's white to move. Go ahead and play white.
So
even just one rank earlier, the 5th and the 4th. Go ahead and play white. And guess what? It's now a draw. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault, Fintan. It's not your fault.
Okay. Should I have gone back?
No. It was already a draw. It wasn't your fault.
It was already a draw. Okay.
That's why it's going to get confusing. Because if you do the same thing earlier, it's a draw because by definition, I had the extra 9th rank. I had the 9th rank that didn't exist before. I get to go back when the pawn is in front of your king. And now, no matter where you come forward on opposition, I will always get it. So you'll go here and I'll go here. And you're like, wait, this looks exactly the same. Dan, you're nuts. No, the difference is it's not the same position. Now you're in zugzwang. Now you have to move and you have to stalemate me. This is where it gets nuts.
Okay, so what do I do to prevent this?
I'm so glad you asked. So now we're gonna go all the way back. So how? What?
No, my chat already want a zugzwang emote.
Like I need a zugzwang emote. No, you should get a zugzwang emote for poker because then it's like the cool kids say. It's like ironic. Is that a thing the cool kids say?
Well, the thing about it is, right, my brand, quote unquote, would be like ATB. And sometimes on the river, I would be in the river. I don't know if you know, like in poker, it's the last card. So it's the last betting street.
Okay.
And I always like say that I don't really have the guys are taking the piss out of me in the chat saying the lighting money on fire is my one, but I pretend as if like I'm absolutely forced to bluff, like I've no choice, like there's no option for me to check.
Yeah, like I'm in Zugzwang. I'm in Zugzwang. I have to bluff.
Yeah.
That's a great thing for poker. Like I'm in Zugzwang. I have to bluff.
People are gonna love it.
I love it. No, your chat can hear me. My chat can hear you, I think, fine, right?
Yeah, no, the chat can hear you perfectly. My chat's loving this, by the way.
I wanted to tell your chat to be nice to you. Okay. Anyway.
No.
All right. Good.
No,
all right.
We don't be nice to the ones we love over in the UK.
That's true, right? Love means never having to say a kind thing.
How we show love. The more abuse I give a friend or someone, they're more likely to be a friend. I would never give a stranger abuse.
That is a great way to put it. So here's where we're at, right? So we've mastered the king and queen checkmate. I took a small detour in my teaching methods and showed you the ladder because I wanted to reason with. There's a lot of coaches do start with that one because it is even like easier than the basic king and queen, right? Because it's literally just the queen and rook doing a dance, right? But and in some ways they're not wrong because it is a very practical one to know, because if you're crushing someone, you're beating their ass. Like you get a queen and rook and you just do your thing and it's over, right? Like so that's a good one to know. But my like chess philosophies are that everything is about a backwards to forwards teaching method. This is the Soviet school, meaning I want you to get to a point where you look at a position. You're going to look at a position right here, and all you need to know is the move. I say, Fintan, this position is white to play, and you're like, oh, it's a draw. And if I say it's black to play, you're like, oh, it's a win. And you just know this to be true.
Did you let me move? Did you let me move first the first time we did this, knowing that I was never going to be able to win?
No, I moved first. You can back up the VOD. I promise you. I promise you I move first.
I can see.
No. I promise you I move first.
Sneaky North Americans.
I promise you I let you move first. But the point is, you want to get to the point where, like I said, then what is it? It's like reading a book, right? It's like what mathematicians see when they look at a board and other people don't see it, right? It's so you look at it and you're like, all you need to know is the move, and the board tells a story. So this position is a forced win for white as long as it's black to move. If it's white to move, this position is a forced draw. And it's not your fault either way. But we're learning the king and pawn ending principles that will apply to dozens and hundreds of positions, and it will improve not just your ability to be like, yo, I'm the king and pawn master, right? We did lessons with it, but more like, now you're making higher level decisions. Now you're in that rook ending, and you're trying to make a decision. Should I trade rooks here or not? And you're like, wait, then I'm in a king and pawn ending, and what's going on with that? That's the muscles we're building here. So that's why everything in the Soviet chess school is backwards to forwards, right? Suddenly you're in a position where, did you just calculate that it was a forced mate in 30 when I said if black to move, he loses? No. But you know the principles. You know that if you get king and queen, it's mate in about 10.
Wait, it's going to take 30 moves?
I'm just guessing. But my point is this, like, you don't need. A lot of people make they have a misunderstanding about chess players when they say like, oh my god, the guy's like calculating 15 moves ahead. It's not. It's just actually like pattern recognition built on pattern recognition. So what you're saying is like, if I get a queen, I already asked you, do I need to ever teach Fintan the king and queen checkmate again? The answer is no. Right?
I've watched Hans, of course you know Hans. I've watched him doing puzzles, and obviously when he does the puzzles, like he in milliseconds like identifies the pattern and just like whacks it out. I've seen Hikaru doing the puzzles, so obviously those players like they are calculating in a way, but it's actually just they recognize the pattern and just like make 5-6 moves in milliseconds. Like.
And we're gonna do the same thing with opposition. I promise you, like it's not gonna be as hard as you think. Like very quickly here, right? So here's my rules for you. Ready? The king leads the way. All right?
Yep.
You only move the pawn, all right, when you need to gain a tempi. You only move the pawn when you need to gain a tempo. We're going to talk about that, okay?
Yeah.
And you have a goal. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. It always wins the game, okay? Yeah. So you're going to use opposition to come forward. Every time my king gives you a square, you're going to take the square that you gave, and you're going to lead with the king. And we're going to see an example of
when you
have
say
to
take
use
the square.
pawn.
Do you mean, sorry to cut across, but just so I'm understanding?
Yeah.
When you say take the square, do I go on to is that like I obviously can't take the exact square, right? So does that mean like
sorry, you take
file?
the square that I've given up. Remember, king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th, where I move and you take that square. Essentially, it's the same kind of thing. So here, and remember, your goal is always the same. You're trying to get a queen, right? So your goal is that the king is going to lead the way so that the pawn can safely march up the board. The king is like the guide, right? You're like and you're like walking the dog here. The king is walking the dog. The dog is on a leash, and the king just needs to stay close enough to walk the dog up the board, one step at a time. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move, and you go ahead and play white. So right now, I gave you
I'm
like
paranoid that I'm not gonna get it right.
no, it's okay. So right now, I gave you the leeway to come forward and take opposition. I'll walk you through the first one. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So now my king is in opposition. If I continue to repeat this, where are you eventually going to get your king?
The 6th.
Do I want that? No.
You don't want that.
I don't want that. So I'm going to try to wait a little bit, but I can't really hold ground because you have opposition. So I have to move. What square have I given up?
You've given, like, if I would say this one.
No. So you don't need to be nervous because your king is still within protective distance of the pawn. Okay?
Okay.
As long as you keep the pawn behind the king, you're not breaking our goal. What's our goal?
Get on the 6th.
King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. As long as the pawn remains behind the king, you're not breaking the goal. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to go right back. And again, you don't even need to touch the pawn yet. What's the logical thing for your king to do? What square did I just give you to take? Exactly. So I go here. What square have I given up?
You get this one? No.
Well, you don't need to take that one because you already have you already had opposition here. So what square did I give up? Right?
This one. This one?
Exactly.
No.
No, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, there was just a lag.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
You're doing great. So if I go here, what square are you able to go to?
Well, I want to be on the 6th, so I think.
Right, but you want to be on the 6th in the same line as the pawn.
Yeah.
Once you've done this, it doesn't matter what happens from here on out. It's like the king and queen checkmate. You're going to walk up. You achieve your goal.
You can pre-move this as well, yeah?
Yep, you can pre-move it. Exactly, and it's over. So that was the easiest version. Let's walk through what just happened, right? That was me not making any moves to make you think. I went back, you came forward. I moved side, you took the square, I gave up. You just rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
You went here. And again, eventually you reached your goal, and the rest of it just played itself, okay? Yeah. So that's the straightforward, nothing too fancy happened. Remember the rules I gave you. The king leads the way, okay? You only move the pawn when you need to gain a tempo, meaning, so for example, when you come forward and you've made progress, okay? If I go here, you want to bring your pawn forward as long as you can keep the pawn behind the king. Because at this point, you can't move the king any more forward, you'll be abandoning the dog. The dog is on a leash, right? You can't let the leash get too long. So now you need to bring the dog a little bit closer. So what would you do? Exactly. As long as the pawn remains behind the king, no problem. So now if I go here, what do you play?
Has to be behind, right? You've just given...
You got this. As long as the pawn stays behind, you're okay. So you need to...
Is level the same as behind?
No.
No. Okay, so then I go here.
Exactly. And now can I go
But that's
here?
not the square you just... That's not the square you just gave up, though, right?
No, I didn't. So but you've got opposition as long as you're one square away. I know this gets a little awkward. The point is this.
No, it's okay.
You're guarding every square to allow my pawn, to allow the pawn to come forward, right?
Yeah.
So now I go here.
Yeah.
Now what would you do?
Again, I don't think... I would just bring the pawn forward one.
Good. Trust yourself, yeah? So now no matter where I go, what are you going to play next? Are you going to put the pawn here or the king?
King.
Ah, you're a genius. Look at this. If you keep your goals in mind, life works out. Everybody, here's what happens. Every time I give this
How do you guys stay so like upbeat all the time?
No, here's how so many people screw up. No, what you did is true. Look, that's why I start with goal-oriented teaching. You have the goal first, and then you get behind the wheel of the car. Here's the thing. A lot of people, I do the exact same process I just gave them, Finton. But when they get here, they're like, well, now I'm already there, so I'll just push. It looked the same to me. My king was on the 6th. My pawn was on the 5th. It's the same position. No. You never actually achieved your goal. As long as you achieve your goal, king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th, right in front of each other, you will always win the game. Guess what happens if you go here? Stalemate, baby girl.
A draw, yeah.
Stalemate. The timing works out every time for black. And this is a little bit hard because it's hard for people when they're trying to like out-calculate or memorize. It's not hard if you let like the goals that I gave you lead the way. Okay?
Yeah.
So you kept the pawn behind you. So what's our goal? If we go actually in reverse order, the way I would always say it is never forget your goal, which is king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. Okay.
Mhm.
Use opposition as your tool. The king uses opposition. You take opposition, you take what they gave you, all right? And as long as you keep the pawn behind you, you haven't blown it. As long as you keep the pawn behind you.
Is it black to move here?
Yeah. But by the way,
okay,
if it
cool.
were white to move, what would you play?
If it was white to move?
Yeah, if it's white to move, it's still winning. Just highlight. If you right click and draw an arrow, you can highlight the square you go to.
I'm not 100% sure because I don't want to put the
Exactly. You don't want to push the pawn because you're not ready yet.
But it's not giving me an option actually to move the king. But I can't put the king on e6, and I don't know if I want to go back. Okay, actually, it's not letting me move it. Just okay, it's letting me.
So, like I said, you right click and draw an arrow.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was giving you a little bit of a curveball. Use the chess.com interface. But the point is, there's a square you can move.
Basically, when I click on it, like I'm used to just seeing my options.
Right. The legal moves option.
Yeah, we can't turn that off.
The point is, imagine if you had king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th, right, and you took a square that the king gave. It's the same thing here.
Sorry, you already explained it to me. Yeah,
exactly.
And then I just march straight through.
So you go right here, and guess what you're guarding? The pawn goes marching on.
Yeah. Pawn goes marching. Yeah. Okay.
And you've got me the rest of the way. So
yeah.
We're gonna. By the way, we're gonna put this to the test on stream. I promise you, by the end of this, I'm gonna be just throwing random king and pawn positions, and you're gonna get it. You're just gonna get it.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
I know it seems a little tricky right now, but the goal of this is this, right? Remember, if we're building our chess muscles, we started with king and queen. Once you have that, I no longer need to go all the way to this position, do I?
No.
That doesn't mean Fintan is a genius who just calculated the force mate in 10 here, right? It's probably actually only like 5, but it's like 1, like 2, 3, okay, it's 6, 4, 5, 6, okay? Like you just did check. But like point is, you're not calculating that. You just know that this is a winning position. So we're going to get to the point where now you have an idea. You have a goal, which is king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. That's your goal. Don't ever forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the pawn. Use opposition as your tool to reach that goal. All right. Keep the pawn behind the king. Some people in chat were yelling at me that opposition only makes sense when you do king and king first. That's not totally true, but there is some point to it. I'm gonna say this. If you're white and I'm black and we remove everything else and we just talk about opposition for a second, and you move here as white, in this position my choices are to concede one of the files or to concede one of the ranks, meaning by going backward. So I actually don't agree with the person who said that in chat, and then I think someone else defended me. It was NM Butter. What's up, John? Here's the thing. Like, unless you have a goal, opposition doesn't make sense. Because here's the thing. You can say that I'm going here because you gave it up. And then if you go here, and they go this way, I'm going here, right? But the problem is, depending on what's the goal? Is there a pawn? Is there a rook? Like, what are we trying to use opposition for? The point of opposition ultimately is to understand you oppose somebody and they have to give up something. It's just like in life. You and I are walking down a hallway. Either we're both going to be like dicks and just run into each other, or one of us is going to go the other way and the other guy's going to go this way, right? Right? Unless it's like 100%. Teenagers like, what's up, bruh? Right? So the point is this, like, that's all it is, okay? You're opposing the hallway that your pawn is on. Your pawn is here. That's your hallway. You're opposing me, and you're going to take ground as I give it, and you're going to use that to work up the board. That's all it is. Okay? So we're gonna reset real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with a position that shows whether you've been paying attention about with white to move. What is your best move here? Go ahead and beat me. I know you got... Oh, baby girl, you've gotten so good. Is it awkward that I call you that? Is it just because I'm being sponsored by this non-alcoholic?
No, not at all. You call me whatever you want if you get me better at chess.
Really? Okay. All right, so you've gained opposition. I have to give up something. So I go here. Okay, so let's say I go here. Good stuff. You're doing good.
So I can't put. I would go here, but I don't know.
That would be the best move, sir.
Okay.
Okay, you've kept the pawn behind the king. So now let's say I go back to the original hallway we were on, what should you do?
Mm,
Tommy,
we'll
literally
go
nobody
here.
asked your opinion. Sorry, one of my favorite trolls is in chat here to abuse me.
um,
That's fine. You have not blown it, but you're going to realize that you had a better move.
oh, okay. I had a
Because
wasted
now that
move.
you're here, you're going to realize you don't want to push the pawn because you don't want it to be equal to
Okay.
the king.
Okay. This I don't want to take the square you've given up now, though, do I?
Well, like do the math. Take a look at the hallway. What hallway is your pawn on?
Yeah,
Right.
it's got to be here.
You don't
right?
want
I
to
gotta go back.
exactly. So that's going to
Yeah,
make you realize you missed your move here. Very
Yeah, yeah.
good, right? So notice that's all it is. I've used a
Yeah.
million analogies. I don't teach kids anymore. Instead, I have beverages and teach poker players when they should be in bed. It's 3 a.m. your time. It's actually almost 4 a.m. your time.
Yeah, it's tree. No, tree.
3. Okay, so but different analogies, right? Like walking the dog. Like your leash is only so far. You can't go so far from the dog, right? Okay, you got to stay
Yeah.
within the leash. Or like, walking down the hallway. What hallway is your pawn on? You got to stay within that hallway, right? And you're
Yeah.
taking what your opposition has given up. The point is you learned that lesson by yourself. I didn't even need to remind you. You made a mistake when I went here. You went here and then you're like, "Oh crap, that's a waste of time because I'm not going to go here,
Yeah.
then it's a draw." So you went
Yeah.
back to your hallway and then you fixed it, right? You went here.
Okay.
Now I go here. Don't forget your goals. It's 3 a.m. Remember, the
Okay,
the roles here are you're teaching me like whatever that is, slang and stuff. Awesome. So this is cool because this is going to give you the hard one. Now I'm here. Your move. Are you sure you haven't blown it?
No, but
Are you sure? Are you sure? You're breaking the rule. Pawn's going in front of the king. You paid attention. It's the one time that you can break the rule. What do you do now? You did it. Can we get a golf clap for
Okay.
Finton? No, look, you didn't. You didn't mess it up. You didn't mess it up.
yeah. Okay. Sweet. Yeah.
So look what you did.
It up again.
You got
Yeah.
the weird opposition, not the easy one where the king has to give up a square, you take it, and the pawn goes marching on. That's the easy one, right?
Yeah.
Instead, you got the tricky one where it was your move, but you remembered the rule. As long as you achieved king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th, you always win. You just move to the side, and you push them. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't believe you're done yet. So guess
problem.
what? Your move... Your move here. White to move. Go.
It's white to move. Okay.
You are getting better. You sly dog. You sly dog. You are just... Has anyone ever called you adorable? When was the last time someone called you adorable? Be honest. It was a long time ago, huh?
Is this too far or is that okay?
Well, think about where you are. As long as you're within the hallway. Exactly, right? Now I'll
Yeah.
come up. Look at how chat's getting excited. They're like, he's doing it. He's
Oh
doing
my
it.
God.
My
One
chat is
second.
like, he's getting better.
I'm getting rated with 3,000 people from one of my best friends, young Benjamin Sprague. If you are joining the stream, just so you know, I'm with Danny from chess.com, who right now is running through some basic checkmates that I've never been taught formally by anyone. So thank you very much for the raid, Benj. And if anyone's coming over expecting poker, that will be tomorrow. But for the rest of the evening, we are going to be doing some more checkmates. And I'm in the process of trying not to mess this one up. So
I
can't remember
assume
what
the
my last
amount of
move
viewers.
was.
I assume the amount of viewers you just got probably like quadruples mine, if not like 10x is mine. How many viewers do you have? I have 143 viewers.
We have 3,500.
See, nobody watches my show.
Nah, but we are going to be getting coached off Danny, and he's going to help me out to not suck as much. So I can't remember my last move, but I'm going to go here.
Very good. As long as the what stays behind the what.
As long as the pawn is behind the king, and we get to the king on the 6th and the pawn on the 5th, we will win. And then we go
Spoken
here.
like a true master.
And then we go here.
Yep. As long as the pawn stays behind the king, and we have king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th, This is good. This is a good little test for you.
Did I fuck it up? No, I didn't. Did I?
No.
I didn't.
Oh,
Hold on,
yeah.
hold on, hold
I'm
on.
gonna let you figure it out.
Which he just gave me that square, but oh no, I'm an idiot. Yeah, okay.
No, you did good. You did fine. So you did get away. You did get away with one a little bit in the sense that I kind of played a weird trick on you because I stayed too far up. Like I was playing bad defense
Okay.
instead of trying to stay in the hallway. Right, I'm like the blocker in the hallway. I was just kind of like I wasn't even trying to stop you. Right. So probably the
Okay.
easiest move here, instead of pushing the pawn, given that I wasn't even guarding the hallway, is another. What's another move you could have played here instead of pushing the pawn?
I'm scared if I go up here that. Oh no, you can't go towards here because
Yeah,
it's
don't
blocked.
don't,
Okay,
don't be,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
be scared.
Don't
right?
get scared playing chess. Be aggressive. Be winning.
B-E-A-G-G, yeah. R-E-S-S-I-V-E.
Okay.
That's something that I used to know because I was never an athlete and was a cheerleader. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. So the point is, we're rinse and repeating the same idea over and over again. And again, none of these exact positions. What are the chances you get a real game, Benton, and your pawn on e2 has never moved?
Oh, dude, I don't move e2 ever. That's my strategy. Stay at this. Yeah, you just protect. Protect e2. I watched.
That was well timed. But you get my point, right? The point now.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
you might get this. You might get this though. I guess to be fair, you might get something like this, right? In a position like this with a G pawn. Very possible, right? You've played a long game. You guys just made like a rook trade, right? On G6. It was a rook ending, right? And here's what happened in this rook ending. This happens all the time, right? You gave a check right here. You gave a check. And your opponent, who doesn't know his king and pawn endings, goes rook G6. What does Fintan have to do? He has to calculate. He has to calculate. Do I have better winning chances in the rook and pawn ending with the rooks on the board? A lot of people don't like parting ways with their pieces. Or do I have better winning chances in the king and pawn ending? And guess what? Now Fintan knows his king and pawn endings. So after this check and trade, as long as you find the right move here, you're in a winning king and pawn ending.
So I want to be only one square away.
Well, it's just remember, you're using the goal. You have king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th as your goal. Very good. Opposition is your tool. So the point is, look, if you had gotten scared and played a random move like this, just because this was the exact X's and O's of what we saw before, you actually would have given me the draw. Now guess who has opposition? I don't have to ever cede the hallway. So eventually you're like, oh crap, he owns the hallway, so I got to start breaking the rule and pushing the pawn first. Well, as soon as you start pushing the pawn first, which by the way, this is helping you draw, in case you're ever on the drawing side of this, as long as you always go straight back from the pawn, you will own the hallway. Wherever they go, you have opposition. So you go straight back. When they go here, opposition. Rinse and repeat. Straight back. When they go here, opposition. Rinse and repeat. Straight back. When they go here, opposition. And it is a stalemate by force. So, but this is where it gets practical, right? Let's take a step back, right? We're in a chess lesson. At some point here, it comes to an end. You got to get to sleep, whatever, right? But what are we doing for our chess, right? We're breaking
I'm in just so you know, obviously, I'm in no rush to go. Like, I'm happy.
Great.
Like, so I'm not in a rush.
I have a wife and 4 kids, but guess what? It's Friday, and
I didn't realize it's Friday because
they don't know what I'm doing half the time. No one knows what I do. I don't know. Anyway, so the point is, where it gets practical is once you start building these muscles, it's not just about, oh my god, I can actually win this king and pawn ending Danny gave me. I've now done it a few times. I'm going to test you a few more times. I'm going to try to trick you. We'll see if I can trick you at least once. But the point is, it's more like now you're in these other end games and you're faced with decisions you've been faced with many times before, and you didn't know what the bleep you were doing. You were like, should I trade? Should I not trade? I don't know if the king and pawn ending is winning or not, because I didn't even know how to measure that. Now you have a tool to measure it. And the question is this: if I trade into this king and pawn ending, can I get the opposition? Right? If I can get the opposition on the king, then I'm in control of the hallway of the pawn, right? I can guide the pawn up the board. If I can't get the opposition, I don't know if that's a winning king and pawn ending. Now, I'm obviously breaking it down. Chess is much more complicated than when we just get the opposition. But you get what I'm saying, right? Now you have a measurement tool. Now you're like, hey, I actually should trade rooks here. Or let's say you were on the black side of this. You know what? If black doesn't play rook g6 here and trade rooks, take a guess about whether this endgame is a win or a draw. Like,
I'm gonna
what would
guess,
be your
considering
just
you
your
gave me.
guess?
I'm gonna guess because you gave me an option. It's gonna be a draw.
Yeah,
Just
it's an easy draw. Now we're not going to get into
okay.
all that tonight, but like the point is, rook and pawn endings are actually some of the easiest endgames to draw, as long as you know just a few things, right? But the point is, a lot of people don't even know that, so they're faced with a check, and they're like, "Oh, he's only got one pawn. I'll make a trade. I'm going to be able to draw that." And what they're actually doing
Yeah.
is trading directly into a lost king and pawn ending because of the opposition tool that we just learned.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
you do your thing. As long as the pawn stays behind the king, you shoulder the pawn off the
How
board.
long ago in a high level game would this have become a draw?
How long?
Like if this was two high level players who
We're not asking the
is
rook ending
a
because two high level players, a guy would go here and it's a draw.
that's what I meant. So once you get so like what is there? Yeah. So they would
No,
just
no
draw
high
straight away
level
when
player would like. I think the max level that would ever make a mistake like this is probably like 1800, and they would only do it probably in like blitz, where like they just didn't have the time to recognize that how silly that was, and maybe didn't have a good coach telling them that you never
Yeah.
trade from a king and rook ending to a king and pawn ending, because your drawing
Yeah.
chances are always better in rook and pawn endings. Always, just remember
Okay.
that. You always want rook. If you're the one on the lose, if you're the one defending, you're down a pawn or two. Just pro tip: your drawing chances are better in the rook and pawn ending. Almost universally, always keep the rook on the board. Right?
Okay.
It allows.
Yeah, well, that's like I know this is like a more simplified, but like when I have less pieces in general, I try to avoid trading off. Right, that's just a rule I got told. So in general, if I'm down material, I don't want to trade. Right, just as a
Yes,
general.
yes, that is true. Sorry, I'm telling my chat. Sorry, I turned off the bits stuff while we're doing this because I didn't want to be distracted while I'm focused on coaching. And the bits that I have right now is Shia LaBeouf yells at me and says, "You like nothing is impossible," and it's like super freaky. So it's just turned off. I do appreciate any love and all that stuff, but it's not a thing. There's not gonna be anything on stream right now because I don't want to be freaked out while I'm teaching Finton. That was for you, Finton. I turned it off for you.
I appreciate it because you never know. Someone could have came in and dropped a mill ball in bits tonight. You don't know.
That's true.
Could have
That's
happened.
true. That's true. But right now they're off, unfortunately, because we got fish to fry. Which is a great English. That's Ireland reference, right? I mean, fish fry. Where did that originate from? Really?
Sure. I would say Ireland or the UK probably.
What would you say to people who say that all English food has no flavor?
I mean, so the thing about it is, right? So I'm Irish, obviously, right? But the thing about it is, because of our climate, we were so lazy with our flavoring for food. So this is
Okay.
why our food tastes right. Is because all of the people who lived on the Mediterranean, if they got fresh fish or if they got fresh meat, they would have to like put salts and spices. They would have to keep it fresh so that it would last longer. Whereas we had the perfect climate because it was always raining and we could just leave our meat. We didn't have to worry about it. We just
Right.
cooked it well, and that was it. So traditionally, I would say the food in Ireland and the UK wouldn't have the same flavors. And if you were to go to many parts of Ireland down the country and like deal with men and women in their 60s and 70s, like they would not want any sauce, they would not want any spices, they would want potatoes, vegetables, and a meat and nothing on it. So
Right.
I can get where people are coming from, but I
Okay.
also would not exactly say America is known for its cuisine.
Wow. That was some serious shade. I was just, no, anyway. I don't the place I visited the most often in the UK, Great Britain, the land of the Queen, is actually Isle of Man. I've been like three times because we have a chess
That's where
tournament there.
Poker Stars is set up.
Yeah, right, Poker Stars, and
Yeah.
and so the formerly Poker Stars Isle of Man International became the Chess.com Isle of Man International. So we've had a chess tournament there. So I only had
nice.
one bad experience of fish fry where I was like, this is just no good. But then I was like, but Americans put so much extra
Well,
stuff on stuff that it's just not.
Just saying. One of the guys in my chat owns 4 fish and chip shops in the Isle of Man, so you better not name any names. That's all I'm saying,
No, I'm
Danny.
not
That's
going to
all
name
I'm
any
saying.
names. Any names.
Them
And
Isle
I'm
of Man
sure
people are proud of their fish and chip shops.
I'm actually sure it was like a bad bar. I'm because it was a bad bar, and it was awkward because we shouldn't have been there. But anyway, and then it led to some random jokes of like, why does this have no flavor? And people are like, no food in England has any flavor, and I'm like,
What would you
"Yeah."
say? What would you say is an American food though?
There's no American food. America rips off everything.
Okay, that's okay.
I mean, is there a single like actually truly American cuisine? Every one of my favorite foods is like Thai.
Hot dogs maybe? Hot dogs possibly?
Hot dogs, like, which is just like,
I would say that maybe it's an American food.
I guess so. Yeah. All right. Where do we go? Anyway, um, so where we're at here. So we've talked about the king and queen checkmate. Super critical. Okay. So now anytime you're up a pawn, you now know you're empowered. You can win the game. You now have the ability to win a game with the single pawn advantage. Because if you get a queen, it's game over. Like you are, it's game over. Now we've got the king and pawn opposition. We're going back to it. I want you to do it again.
No problem.
Okay.
Well, I'll try my best anyway.
This is going to be a fun one.
So you're going to try your best that I mess it up anyway.
A little bit of a trick. Go ahead. It's showing a bit of a trick, yeah? I knew you'd do it.
Oh, really? So I'm already screwed, am I?
No, just keep playing. Keep playing.
Have I screwed it? Not yet.
I want you to be able to tell me whether you know that it's screwed up or not.
Well, like I'm just okay. I don't want to just keep doing this because you can just do repetition. Oh, I didn't mean to drop it.
Right, 3 move repetitions to draw. So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to the beginning position. Did you screw it up with the move King D4? And if so, what should you have played? Panda Express is my favorite American food. There you go. It's a great example.
So, have you showed me the situation before and I'm messing it up?
No, I haven't. It's new. It's new.
Okay.
I'm trying to get you to like really rely on your principles right now and prove to you that if you remember the things I taught you, what's your goal? King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. What do you need to use to get there? Opposition. If you don't get opposition, you're not going to reach your goal. That's your tool, right? And as long as you keep the pawn behind the king, you're in okay shape. So now you played there, even though it was counterintuitive because it was away from the pawn. Here's the thing. If I go here, now what do?
Well, I think I should go here. But
that's right, because you don't have the opposition where it matters yet, which is on the hallway.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, Benton.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Okay, Chessbase's right. Barbecue is American food.
Barbecue? Is barbecue not Jamaican? Have you just stolen barbecue from the Jamaicans?
No one has stolen anything here, all right? Calm
Listen,
down.
The Americans stole plenty of stuff.
Okay, remember, get your goal. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. Ah, you messed up. You never had your king on the 6th, brah.
My king's on the 6th.
But was it on the 6th in front of the pawn?
Oh, see, you never said to me king on the 6th in front of the pawn.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. The king is on the 6th rank in front of the pawn. That's your goal. On the hallway. You got to be on the hallway. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. So you did everything right. Let's go through it. Ready?
Yeah.
Sorry, you did everything right. King C4. You walked the dog. You walked me over. You slowly came up the board. You took everything I gave up, but you never touched down on the magic square. This is the magic square right here, right in front of the pawn.
Okay.
And so what happened was
I'm just gonna. I don't remember.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But this is why we're doing it, right? Because this is I was trying to trick you so that you could remember this. The king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th always wins the game with the king in front of the pawn. Okay, that's our goal.
Okay.
We use opposition to get there. Right? That's the tool we use, right? The point is it's very easy to mess up because you're like, oh, I did it, right? But you never actually got here yet. And so the timing worked out, just the geometry of the board, that it's going to be stalemate. So that's why you have to trust what I said, that it's king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. Okay. It doesn't matter what
I just king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th is all I need.
I know.
I was like, that's all I need to do.
I hear
you. No. It's not your fault.
But now you've got it, right? King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. This is the position. Or if it's the B file, it's
I remember seeing it. Yeah.
C file, D file, right? This is your goal. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. You'll notice I didn't highlight the corner pawn because the corner pawn, as I said, is the one exception. No, I didn't say it yet, but I will say it now. King on the 6th, pawn on the 5th. And it makes sense that it doesn't work with a corner pawn because there is no I file, right? So I go here, and you're like,
can you do anything from here, or is it
exactly? You're trying to go to a square that I haven't given up, right? Because there's no I file. So the only pawn that's an exception to the rule of king on the 6th, pawn on the 5th is the corner pawns, the A pawn and the H pawn. But everything
Can you do
else.
anything about it though? Can you do anything from this situation, or is it a draw?
No, it's a draw.
It's a draw. Okay.
It's a draw because there's nothing. There's no way to get me to leave the corner, and so you advance. And in this case, it doesn't matter whether you check me or whether it was black to move, and I went here and you stalemated me. There's no way to get me out of the corner.
Okay.
So, how's that? So I want to back up a little bit before we bring this to a close. I want to give you some fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know you're like, all right, this guy's beating me down with some good old-fashioned Soviet Union family fun, right? This is Soviet Union family fun. Way back in the 70s, we would gather around, and this is what would happen, okay?
Wait, so did you grow up in Russia then, or did you just have Russian teachers?
My babushka would gather everyone around the kitchen table over some borscht, okay? And some vodka. I was 8 years old, but vodka was a thing. Okay? Some borscht and some vodka and a good chessboard, and our babushka would teach us king and pawn endings. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
I maybe just missing the vodka. Maybe that's why I forgot that they need to be lined up.
All right, so I want to follow you. You're going to play some chess. This will be fun. And I want you to play unrated, okay? So that if any kind of like natural banter happens where I'm giving you some advice, it's not cheating, right? Maintaining chess.com fair play. Let there be an announcement to any streamers who do help anyone in any kind of coaching and any kind of future events where we're helping people. Have everyone play unrated. I know it doesn't really matter, but it just helps because we do get complaints. Sometimes people are like, oh, someone's getting help, and we can reset anyone's rating. But the point is you're going to play unrated. I'm going to let you play, and maybe just a little bit of advice here and there. You're going to do your thing. In fact, if anyone from either chat wants to log in to chess.com right now, his username, exactly. We can just refund points. It's no big deal. But his username is Easy with Aces. He's about to make a search. You want to search what game do you normally play? Like 10-minute?
Five.
Okay. So I want you to do, hold on, let me follow you. God, we have 1 million observers.
Get lost, Dominic. Get lost. Out of here. See you later.
Okay. So I'm now following Easy with Aces. You start a game whenever you want. Okay. And now
I do 10 minutes because it's on the stream.
Whatever you want. We can do 5, 10, whatever. We're not in a rush.
We'll do 5 and then maybe okay.
I want you to play the way you normally play and play the openings. Play the openings you normally play. Play everything. I mean, as your chess coach, I'm going to do everything I can to help you get better. But we've been focused a lot on end games, and we're going to build on these chess principles over time. But right now, you're just going to play. I'm going to follow you. We'll give advice as we can. Here you go. You're playing Anik 0506. So do you have openings that you always play?
Not until recently, but I watched a Gotham Chess video yesterday, and I'm going to try and memorize what I seen him doing as black and see if I can.
Okay. This guy's playing fast. All right, do your thing. Whoa, look at you. You're speed dimming. I like it. I like it.
Okay, now this is as far as I got, as far as I remember, but I'm going to go here.
Yeah, everyone follow Levy, Gotham Chess.
Yeah, he's got some nice videos on
Levy's
YouTube.
great.
I only watched a few minutes of it, but it seemed quite good.
He's going to be doing some more stuff for the chess.com YouTube channel here pretty soon too. So.
He said he was going to potentially play a game or two of chess on my stream as well. Okay. I feel like I'm not meant to put my knight over here, but
You're doing fine. No Trust yourself. Excuse me. That was it. I sneezed. That's all that was. Okay? It's allergy season. That's all that was. That's it. Okay? Keep doing you.
Oh, what did I just lose? Oh no, what did I don't even know what was there.
Everything's going to be okay. Just trust yourself.
Oh no. Oh no, okay. Now I'm panicking. Okay.
No, don't panic. Just do your thing.
No, it's okay. But I'm just a little scared now because I'm down
Yep.
full piece and I'm probably gonna lose.
Hey, we all lose.
I know.
I love how I'm trying to say encouraging things, and you're like, "Yeah, I don't need it."
No, I just know. Like I don't see how I'm.
Yeah, because the real key, as the real Greco says in my chat, is to panic. Panic. Always panic first. Ask questions later.
I often I used to just mimic like until I watched that video literally yesterday. So like I have no idea what I'm meant to do when I get here. I used to just basically when I was black just mimic or do the I'm not sure what the when you play what pawn would it be? Basically, I think it's the Carol Can where you force like you play. Would it be C6? Oh, I'm actually so far down on time. I'm in big trouble here. Okay. I know I'm not meant to trade pieces when I'm down, but I don't really see where I'm going to go with this guy. I'm going to lose it there. Okay.
I'm sorry, it's like against my nature to give advice mid-game.
Yeah, I'm just moving this pawn as like a move to do nothing, but
you're doing fine. We're gonna back up and take a look at the opening just because that's, we're gonna do a little bit of this beginning of the chess game advice because I know you play every day, you do puzzles every day, so this will help you get better every day while we work on your end games and stuff like that. So. I just saw your stream.
God, Jesus Christ. Hey. Oh, I'm panicking so much. Like, obviously, I've just given away pieces left, right, and center, and it's painful. But this is what I mean. When I'm on stream, I panic.
First of all, left, right, and center is such an English term. I love you for that. That is awesome.
I'm gonna tell you, Danny, you gotta stop calling me English. All right?
Sorry,
I'm Irish.
It's okay? Irish. Hey, I know that, and I just wanted to push you to that limit. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, for you.
Yeah. All my mates are messaging me laughing, but I'm sweating. Like I'm sweating. I know. Okay, this is obviously all lost. Yeah. Oh no, I'm just sweating.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Sad things going on. Sad state of affairs. My heart is broken.
Hey, it's Blitz. Do your best. We're gonna go over this game and learn so much. It's gonna be freaking amazing. Don't even freaking worry about it. Okay. Don't even bleeping worry about it.
Like, if I was playing this game, there's no way I would have continued when I went down -6 points.
How do you even know you're down -6? Oh, you see the little counter.
When I went down -6, I'm down -10 now.
Yeah, but forget about that. That's just math, bro. You gotta feel it right here. Okay, you're all right. Don't worry about the math. Forget about the math. I've been losing at math my whole life. I know that doesn't speak very highly of anything. Oh, man. I mean, right now I'm going to tell you, you're not only going to lose at math, you're going to lose this particular game. But it's okay. But it's okay. Hey, look, as we get to know each other, I'm going to be much more ruthless with you. Like you said, friends don't let friends play bad chess. Okay? And I'm not going to let you play bad chess. We're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was painful.
Okay.
I honestly think I'm always going to struggle to talk.
And play?
I think I might, but I will try and get better at it. But I didn't even like when I lost my first. I think it was when I lost my bishop on the, I think it was on a6 or whatever. Like I didn't even know what piece was there, and I just realized I was -3. You know, so anyway.
Well, so what
honestly,
happened? So
I'm
here's what we're
sweating
gonna
more
do.
now than when I ever play poker. When no matter how much money I'd be playing for, like my back is like sweating like crazy because
Really?
I just know, yeah, because it's like
It's so funny because
I
I'm having a
know
great time.
I know I'm going to mess up, and I would like to think if I sat there and wasn't trying to talk to you as well, I wouldn't have blundered as frequently as quickly.
Right.
But anyway, okay.
All right, so here's what I just did. I was watching your game. I clicked the analysis button. I'm showing this because anyone can do this. You can click the analysis of your game. You can also. Do you ever use the game report tool?
I haven't. So I haven't played actual any really games of chat. I think I played a few yesterday, but on this month I hadn't played many. But like about.
But I thought you said you've been doing blitz and puzzles. You puzzles mostly. Is puzzles your jam mostly?
So until this month, I would have not done that many puzzles and would have done like I still do them on stream mostly because I get a 5-minute break from poker once an hour and it's hard to fit in a game of chess.
Got it.
But when I have more time and I'm not playing as much poker, but there's a series on this month, so I'm playing every single day. I like playing games like to cool down after chess, but this month like I haven't been doing that. So like I like playing games more, but I find the puzzles easier because like I can play them for 2 minutes. And then
Okay.
Stop.
Totally makes sense, and I'm not even asking to dive into any more than understanding. Like I said, taking me into the life of Fintan right now, just so I know what you're doing. And if you, so it's hard. I don't really even want you doing game reports on games that are super fast to like bother you in terms of like the amount of mistakes that were made, those sort of things. Like as your coach, I want you to just focus on some certain things. But if you click the game report button like on your stream, which you get
after it says I made only 3 blunders, which like I'm gonna have to question the chess.com's engine. Like I felt like I made a blunder every.
But I only want to show you. I only want to show you like one thing. So in the game report, it's gonna give you the opportunity to retry mistakes. So like
11% accuracy,
and I can do that too. So if I click computer analysis of you, even though I didn't play the game, I can submit a game report. Okay, and I can retry your mistakes right here. So I can actually retry the game and try to improve on play that was made. And by default, it's set up as white. I can also have the retry mistakes for black mistakes. And the point is, if you want to find a very simple way to, like, you don't have a coach around and you just want to look at, like, some quick mistakes, you can totally do that. It's not a big deal. But right now we have a coach, so we don't need to do that. So what I did was I created an analysis board. I'm going to invite you to it. I have the ability to I have what's called staff. So this is a fun thing. When I invite you to a game, oops, that's not a username. When I invite you to a game, you're automatically there, whether you like it or not, which is super cool. I just force you to a board. So now you have a board where we're going to go over your game.
I'm not on the board.
Click on a new tab. If you look on the tab,
I'm on a board where it's showing the game I just played.
Yeah, can you see the pieces I'm moving?
No.
So
yes, I can now. I'm on it now. Yes, I clicked on the analysis. Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So you played all the way till here, which is the Pierce, by the way, courtesy of Levy Rosman.
Did I play it correctly?
So where did you say you lost the theory? Was right like here? You lost the theory is like a common term for what's theoretically considered best in chess.
I don't know because I only watched it yesterday once, right? So I think this is where I got to in terms of because I know I have the castle, right? And I think this is the sequence that gets me to castle as quick as possible. And then I'm not really sure what I do. I assume I develop my knight.
So first, no, this is great what you did, and even the move you did, E5. This is great. This is like a spear, like you've got a pawn storm facing a certain direction, and typically that's where you want to play is in the direction of your pawn storm. So I always say this: your pawns in the center are like the flow of the river. You want to swim with the river, not against it. Okay, you want to go with the flow of the river.
Can I ask one thing?
Yeah.
So, the reason I took out the B, I just want to ask, like, you can explain to me why it's wrong. The reason I took out the B6 pawn, and then obviously I ended up losing my bishop on.
Okay, we'll get a few moves more. Like you're following me, right?
Yeah.
So right here, where you played bishop.
Obviously, that's obviously terrible. I didn't notice that already. It was terrible because it was already open. So that's obviously terrible. but I obviously want to get my bishop out, and the only other
But
square I
but
can
so
go.
don't no. So I'm glad you said it. So this is where we're gonna get better for like future games. Okay.
Okay.
Because here's how you can focus on chess improvement. You can be like, oh, like crap. I lost my bishop because I just missed that his rook could take it, right?
Yeah.
And that could be the story you tell yourself. I only lost that game because I just missed the bishop, right? And
Yeah.
I missed that if my bishop went there, that his rook could take it. The
Yeah.
problem is that actually in the position, your bishop shouldn't even be there to begin with. Like, you shouldn't even be playing on that side of the board. So what I was getting to when I said the swim
Sorry.
with the river thing, this is like
Yeah.
the big picture advice that starts to become like exponential in your chess game, where you're like, okay, like this is how you develop a plan. A lot of times
Yeah.
you get out of the opening, you've developed your pieces, okay, you got castled. In fact, if we go through the first several moves, you did a lot of good things. You played an opening. You learned from a strong player, a grandmaster, Levy Rosman, right? You're getting castled. This is great, right? You've developed your pieces. This is called the Pierce, and it's actually set up with this pawn on d6 to do exactly what you did, which is play e5 and have a direction set where this is the side of the board you want to go to. You have your pawns pushing you toward that side of the board. So the real problem you made in this game is not just the big mistake of losing the bishop, it's not going with that plan. So here's what happened. So you develop the knight. The knight development is fine. In fact, even trading the bishop is actually fantastic, okay? But the point is that in a position where your pawns are facing one side of the board, do you have a natural diagonal for your bishop here or over here right now?
Okay, so in my head, okay, I don't have a natural one, but in my head, obviously, it's terrible mistake. I'm not ignoring what you're saying, but in my head, I could attack his castle if I got out right, but which it doesn't. He's not going to just let me have it, which is dumb.
But,
so
but
yeah,
like
I have natural
exactly, so
diagonal
like
to
it's like at
put a
best
pin
it's
on
like
his
a
queen.
one move threat, right? You develop your
Yeah.
pieces and it's like a one move threat. And where's
Yeah.
where's like the future purpose? So when
Yeah,
when we look at a pawn structure and we're facing a direction, if we go that way, we already have like the backbone of support to like
Yeah.
bring pieces this way. So a great
Does
way
it
to
get
play is
trapped ever?
what?
Like if I so okay, if I go up there, will I never get trapped by being forced to go back, or do I just always take if I do get there? I know I'm like
Well,
jumping ahead a little bit.
the reason it's jumping ahead is because this is why we don't teach a lot of like beginner chess players like hyper modern structures, because actually here's the answer to it. The bishop is already developed right where it is.
Okay.
You already control all the squares you need to. You're facing the direction you need to. So what you need to do is find a way to attack over here with like the knight and bring up the pawn and bring the rook. And you want to try to bring everybody, you want to try to bring pieces to this side of the board where everybody can attack, because you already have like a spear kind of facing that direction. You already have a natural assault, right? So the point is, in this opening you're going to play again from Levy, this pawn structure is going to occur on a regular basis. And what you'll have to realize is that actually it's not exactly the same as normal openings where you think, oh, I need to bring my pieces toward the center. In fact, your rook was already in a really good spot right here because it supports the F pawn, who is going in this direction right here. So the point is like
good.
What you did was a really good plan that you got rid of the bishop, but if I had the keys to this car, if I had the wheel, what I would have done in this position is move my knight to one of these squares, and I would have tried to attack on this side of the board, because that's where all my pieces have the ability to move. Whereas, look, I can't go this way. I can't go this way. The queen is blocked. I can't even go this way with the bishop, because not only is that a one-move threat, but as we learned, like, that's blocked. In fact, when you played this move, by the way, the big mistake of the game was not that you lost the bishop, which is that he didn't take the bishop right away. He actually played this move first and only then took the bishop. He could have just taken it on the first time.
Okay. Obviously, me hanging the bishop is me not noticing it, and I'm going to put it down at the time. But obviously, the big mistake is the theory that I'm just putting my pieces on the wrong side of the board and going.
Well, it's more like that's the mistake you can correct. But I'm not trying to dismiss that like losing the bishop was the thing that lost the game. It obviously was more important.
No, of course.
But what I'm getting to is like, a lot of times in chess, the things we can control are actually the smaller mistakes. When like when we play a game, we're like, oh, I blundered my queen on move 29 of this particular position. Very
Yeah.
often, I mean, chess is like literally to like the billionth and trillionth powers, right? That's why chess
Hmm.
players, we always get insulted when people compare it to checkers, right? Because checkers at its max is like 142,000 possible positions. Chess in its beginning position is like 1.42 like freaking trillion possibilities, right? It's like literally like a game of defined information that hasn't been solved, and we put a man on the moon, right? It's
Yeah.
just like it's a super complex game, and the point is like it's it's focusing your efforts on the mistakes you can control and things you can learn about in the opening, which is like, hey, like this is a tip. If I have a pawn structure facing a certain direction, that's like a spear where I can put my pieces on that side of the board. Like, look at the pawn structure. You're
Yeah,
naturally
that makes
protected
perfect
here.
sense.
Take a look. This file's not open. This file's not open. There's nothing that can attack any of your pieces. You can actually safely focus on this side of the board by like making a move and making another move and trying to advance on this side of your spear. That's what I'm saying. Look at a chess position, look at the pawn structure, try to attack in the direction of your pawns if you can. Um, and that's a
Can
random
I?
tip. And then you would say, well, what if there is no direction of the pawns in a future game? Well, if by definition you're playing like an open center game, the direction of the pawns is like the middle of the board where it's like wide open, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got like, I'm just making a random position, the wide open pawn. Look, this is the direction of the pawns because there is no pawn.
Yeah.
It's a wide open
Can I?
file.
Obviously, I just played that yesterday, that opening, because
Really?
I've seen it in like Levy's video. It might have been 2 days ago or 3 days. I don't know. It was in the last few days. Every day is like molded into one during this series.
Right.
But no, not the opening you just did. The one I'd done in the game we played.
Right.
But would you advise? Obviously, you don't want me to, like, when we do lessons, you don't want us to practice openings. You want me to learn the other theory that like I'll be able to apply very easily.
No. I'm not. I want you to practice what you want to play. If you want to play the opening learn from Levy, then great.
No, that's why I'm asking, because nobody turned around to me and was like, "Oh, you should play this opening." Like
First of all,
I have.
No. I think that if any, I'm not that kind of coach. Like some coaches are like, I want you to play my opening repertoire, like my open. I don't believe in that. I think that every position has a best move that should be played, and it's better to just try to understand that rather than like I'm only going to play these moves and try to memorize it. I think that
I was just wondering if there, not even your openings, but I was just wondering if there's openings that are safer for, not safer, but like just,
No,
I don't know how to
I
word
think
it.
this is okay. I think it's a fun opening to play as long as you dive into the things I'm like kind of talking to you about it, right?
No, I
Which
understand.
is-
I do understand what you're saying for
So,
sure,
like,
100%.
You've got a pawn structure. Like, there's a difference between a pawn structure and like an open position. An open position has like open files for the rooks, open diagonals for the bishops. The pieces, meaning the minor pieces, not the pawns, the pieces are fighting over central squares because the position has been blown open. In a closed position, which is what this is, and it's what it was in the game, even when he opened it and then closed it again. Like, this is a closed position. In a closed position, by definition, you're swimming one way or the other. You could have this exact same position with this pawn here and this pawn here, and the story would be different. Now you're swimming in that direction. You have things that can naturally go that direction. You would try to push your pawns or bring your pieces over there. The point is, in a closed position, always swim with the river. Take a look at the center pawns and try to move your pieces in the direction of your furthest advanced pawn. I'll say that again because it's actually very specific. In a closed position, always move your pieces in the direction of your furthest advanced pawn.
Okay.
So your furthest advanced pawn is where you swim to in a closed position. You bring pieces that way. You bring knights and pawns, and this rook should really be here. And we bring pieces this direction because just look at the position optically. That's open. That's open, and this is actually closed. Right? This is closed. Yeah. And anytime you go against the flow of the river, you're always making problems. And so, yes, like you could have played the move b6 and then suddenly realized, oh, wait, bishop a6 is a bad move. Like you could have played like a5, which would have blocked his rook. And then you could have put the bishop there safely. That's possible. But the point is, I would argue, even going this way, like what I want to do is I want to play over here because my furthest advanced pawn says, hey, come this direction over here.
No,
because
that
that's
sounds
where I
like another
control
rule
space.
I'll be able to follow. I won't be sending my bishop on a lonesome
Is
mission
that
to
does
do
that make
nothing.
sense, or am I getting too
No,
complicated?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense. No,
Okay.
no, it does.
So, and there are other. I mean, you're gonna have other games like when you're. I mean, I want you to play one game as white. I don't know what you play as white, but like that'll be. We can bring it to a close. Let's have you play a game as white. And the point
Okay.
is, opening tips are a little bit advanced sometimes at first, but it's kind of like the principles I was getting you to buy in with king and pawn endings. There's a learning curve, but I want you to look at a position and be like, if it's open in the middle, meaning there's open files or open diagonals, put your pieces there. If it's a closed position, bring your pieces to the side of the board of your furthest advanced pawn. That's where your pieces
Yeah.
belong. That's where
Okay.
you have your best chance of success.
Okay. Can I play a 10-minute game? Do you mind? So
Let's
that
do
I
it.
can like just try and not blunder
Yeah, let's do it.
as
No
hard and
nerves,
just
no
take a
nerves.
few
You're white.
moments. Have you set up that I might or like?
Oh no,
win
sorry,
and
I
set
was
up?
waiting for you to play a game. Go ahead. If you start a new
Do I,
game,
can you
you want me to set up a game where you're white?
can you do that? Yeah. You
Yeah,
can
I
just
can.
set me up to be white. Yeah, sure.
Who
You can do
wants
what you
to-
want, right? You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever I want. Who wants to play him? I guess I have to ask my chat because I'm not in your
Yeah,
chat.
no problem. No problem.
Whoever wants to play him, but you have to be logged in with the username.
Chadok, I'm sure he's in your chat as well. He said he'll play black.
Okay, his username is the same.
I believe it's Chadok.
Okay.
Yes.
All
There
right.
he is. There. CHAEDOC.
Yeah. So I'm gonna match.
He's obviously going to destroy me though because he's going to be much. I don't accept this. So like, obviously this is perfectly fine. But when people ask me to play, when I'm clearly a beginner and I don't know how to play, people ask me to play against them all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I
Shadok,
don't. He's 1500
Don't
rated.
beat him
Like,
super fast. No, I'm kidding. You do your thing. All right, so you're white. So do you always play d4 or do you randomly grab a pawn?
well, I'm gonna play. I don't see. I would have played c4, but because he's gone over there, I don't know what the response is. But this is what I would just do. I would
Okay.
go into the center.
Do what
because
you
it's
do. What
free.
you do. Do what you do. You're good.
Okay.
Okay. This is actually funny because you're kind of playing the white side of the same type of position that you just played.
Okay.
A little bit.
See, I see. I don't.
Dude,
know
you're in a
if there's
great
something-
spot.
No. I just don't know. If there's anything you told me in the last lesson that I should know that will apply to.
Well, right now you've got a big center, so there's no defined
Yeah.
pawn structure yet, right? You're not traveling one direction to the other. That's good
Okay.
because a big center is restrictive, right? It restricts your opponent's mobility. It's controlling squares that affects their minor pieces. So
Okay.
at some point, I mean, you follow principles. You want to get all your pieces out, get castled, right? Get your king saved, control the center. But at some point,
Yeah.
what will happen in the center is often the pawn structure will take shape. It'll face
Okay.
one direction, which is telling your pieces, hey, swim this way. Or the position will become open, which becomes a little more of a battle of squares and activity. These are all the things we'll learn. And I know I tend to talk about chess in too much of an existential manner where like everything is defined, but like the bottom line is deal with what's in front of you. Okay, so don't
Okay.
blunder tactics if you can, and make the best move you can with your center space where your pieces are. And the rest of the plan is what I'm trying to teach you, where to put your pieces. So I'm going to be quiet. You play. You're doing great.
Okay.
You're doing so great. You're doing so great. And you look great, by the way. What do you do with poker now that you're, like, now that the world doesn't hang out?
Well, I play online exclusively, so.
Is that
So
legal?
this is not in America. It's not, but in the land of the free of Europe, it is.
America sucks, bro. Man, not so free, huh? But anyway, online poker. That's the thing. Am I allowed to say America sucks? I think I'm probably going to get attacked. Okay, you're doing great. I'm going to be quiet because you're doing great.
See, right, this is a move that I'm gonna make, and you can tell me after, like, this specific move. Like, I don't know how scared I should be of his. Now that he's like taking the pin away, like, I'm not sure how scared I should be of his knight coming into G4. So like, I don't know if this is like.
So
just
like the
over
question would be
negativity.
like, so that's a fine move. It's prophylactic, okay, meaning your future defensive, but don't be afraid of ghosts. So the best, the next, here's the best way I would answer critical thinking in chess. People often make the mistake of saying the key to a chess player is asking, why did he go there? Why did she go there? That's important
Mm-hmm.
because most of the people in the world would, learn something and probably improve their quality of life by just asking, why did this happen? But here's the thing. In chess and in real life practical situations, why did something happen is already past tense. It already happened.
Yeah.
So here's what you need to ask. Instead of stopping knight g4, it would have been, if that move happens, what happens next? If I go there, what's their next move? This is actually like a different level of critical thinking, right? So the point is, knight g4 didn't do anything. And you don't want to see ghosts, right?
Okay.
The point is, what you always want to ask as a chess player is not why did they go there, because that means you're asking past tense. You could already be lost. It already happened. You want to ask, if I go there, what's their next move? If I go there, visualize the position in your head and ask, what's their next move? That will literally just like that's the next level of chess. Is if I go there, so visualize it. If I go there, what happens next? That's all we're doing all the time. I've been waddling a little bit. I'm sure Chad has noticed. I have to go pee. That's just the honest truth, bro. So I'm
no
gonna
problem. You go.
I'm gonna play.
You go, and then we. Okay.
When I come back, I'm hoping to see a fantastic position.
Okay. J-Doc, you can finish me off now if you want. I know you're being generous. Am I in trouble, chat? Tell the truth. Am I in trouble? If I take this, he's going to push his pawn, right? But that's not the end of the world, is it? That doesn't seem the end of the world to me, but I don't know. Because I'm not good at chess, and we're learning. And Danny is very good at teaching chess, isn't he? Very, 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 very good. Very, very, very good. Saint Rion says, loving the chess, mate. Thank you. Sorry to any new sub, by the way, when this was all going down. I was trying to just concentrate on the lesson because it's very kind of Danny to spend his time. Okay, so this is going to get attacked once. I'm scared, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so he can move this pawn, but then I can just move my knight and it's not the end of the world. I'm just gonna start pushing this forward and he's gonna take my bishop. Do I want to keep that bishop? The answer is I don't fucking know. I would guess he will just come and take it though. I would imagine that he's going to take this. And now I'm very scared. Very, very scared. It feels like it's about to all unravel. We had a good run. Congratulations. We've loads of unprotected pawns over here. This feels like an issue.
How are we doing?
I'm scared of my unprotected pawns, Danny. I'm not going to lie. There's two of them.
I'm scared too, and I just got back.
I'm a little scared. Man, classical music's very intense.
I can't even hear your music. Now I feel left out. Thank you to we've had a few subs today, a little bit of gifting. Thank you so much. All right, you're doing great. Shaydog's a good player. He's been around a lot of chats. I see him watching a lot of the chess streams. I think Shaydog is likely not living in the U.S.
I also think he's likely not trying his hardest to win right now.
Well, you don't know that, right?
I feel it though. I feel it. I feel it. I just feel it.
Hey.
But I also know that if he loses to me, he'll never ever.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right. And you have a pretty good position, and you've been doing good. So don't give up on us, baby. Don't make the wrong seem right.
This is going to open up my. This is big issues for me, right? Because I'm going to have to open up my king a lot. Yeah, it's about to be big boy trouble for Finty. Okay.
We're going to go over this game, by the way, so don't you worry. We're going to learn a ton. We're going to analyze the bleep out of this game.
This is dumb. Do I lose a pawn by doing that? That's
what was your thinking with the queen move?
I was just trying to stop his strat on me, but I didn't really need to, and I just realized.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, but it shows you were cognizant. No, you were cognizant of the trap. That's okay.
Yeah. Damn it.
You were.
Okay.
You were thinking about, the consequences of it. It's super critical. Honestly, it's fine. Don't stress about it.
No, in my head, I was like, I'm going to force him to trade queens, but obviously, I knew, I was about to move my bishop, and I looked at it for ages, but then I panicked, and that was that.
You have an Instagram where you post pictures of your dog?
I do. I do. Well, I don't. My fiance does.
Got it. This is a good time control to practice, by the way. Just in general, I feel like it gives you a little more time to kind of dive in. I know it's hard because a lot of times you're using chess as like a break, right in between stuff where you've got a time limit. But as part of training, as we get better, it's a good time.
I'll definitely start using this time control and just playing less games, because I like mindlessly play games all the time. I just mindlessly play them because I just find it as a source of entertainment. Like when I was playing it, I wasn't intending to try and get good or anything. But now that you're
we're gonna
do some coaching,
we'll do some tactics. We'll talk about. In general, we'll talk about how to use the tools a little bit more appropriately. A lot of it is retraining some thinking about But you've already got. I actually think that you've got a typical kind of poker player's mindset in some ways, in that you are thinking ahead, and sometimes I think you're seeing ghosts that aren't there. Like you're seeing your opponent's threats that maybe aren't as strong as you think they are. Like you're giving them
Okay.
too much credit, right? This is part of
Hmm.
like I don't know. I don't know why I think it's a poker player's thing, but I've seen it before where you're like, oh, this is going to happen next, so you're like trying to anticipate and you're adjusting. But in this position, this game, you actually had a great position before you kind of
Could
started
I just?
overthinking a little bit.
Um, so I'm gonna lose another pawn here, right? That's a problem. Um, I can't. Hmm. Would you
Finton's
still
last
win from
name is
here?
Hand. Sorry, go
Would
ahead.
you still win? Would you still win from this position?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that means there's obviously I'm not gonna see it, but here, stop. Give me time. I'll just play quicker. It's all good. Um.
Shaydock is giving you 15 seconds.
I don't. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Okay. I know I was never going to win against J. Oyler, but like at this point, like against someone this good, I would also resign. But I know that's not the point of this game. But it feels very lost causey.
Have you played him before?
No, he's actually offered a few times. I just haven't.
So you just knew he was a good player.
Well, I've seen he's got 1500 rated, so he's going to be better than me. Um,
So why don't they have ratings in poker?
because to play poker, people want an edge because it's for money, and if there was no edge and the best reward you could get for studying for years was to play against someone that was the same rating of you, and you would have to pay rake because it's a non-zero game. It would make absolutely no sense to play because you would just be constantly losing to the person who puts the game on.
Yeah, but that
Um,
doesn't really make sense though, because like there's no reason why someone like you couldn't be rated like a grandmaster, but it doesn't mean that people don't. In chess, grandmasters lose to people that aren't grandmasters, right? In
but
single game
yeah, but
experiences.
the people that how long is it? How many moves is it till I'm checkmated?
I try not to think like that.
um, yeah, people obviously lose, but you're also okay. Like I said at the very beginning, you could beat me in chess, but I will never beat you. Sorry, you could beat me at
Yeah, but do you think it hurts poker that like the best players aren't just instantly recognized by like their previous cred, like their rating?
I think it would be nice if we could have like uh can I just resign this, or do
You
you want
can
me to play
totally
it out for you?
up to you.
Yeah, no, yeah. Can I just before you start? Can I just take 2 seconds to go to the bathroom as well?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
It'll be 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, do it. Yeah, I mean, Shurgim216 in my chat just mentioned about not looking at ratings. I know that we've got Fenton's chat thinking a little bit about the rating question now. I think it's interesting because I wonder sometimes if the rating system in chess is actually super helpful, right? You recognize, regardless of people, everyone who brags like, "Oh, I'm better than my cousin," and then I beat my uncle back when when I was like 5. Like in chess, there's no debate. Like you just know who the good players are, and every online system even has their own rankings, like other chess sites. And then you have FIDE, the official rankings, right? The point is, a ranking system is designed to like remove the mystery and help provide the best experience possible, which is you play against someone who's roughly equal to you. And then or it would allow people, like in poker, it's always like in like a tournament of poker, Finton, correct me if I'm wrong, like the World Series of Poker is either the 0-person win, it's a zero-sum game. Either the beginner wins or they go home at some point. They're playing in the same section as you are, right? Like,
Yeah.
there is no opportunity to have like a previously defined like skill level. And I guess part of that is because of the luck, right? The luck of the
Yeah.
draw that you can't
Well, I think
you can't measure.
one of the most fun aspects of poker, which we would mention many times, right? So I love the hierarchy in chess. Like you see, like these battles that have been going on, like that you see at the moment, like with Hikaru and Magnus, and the hype that like has like in a defined number one at the moment, and people are trying to dethrone him. Like I love that. But for your average person, right? The reality is, if I start playing chess today, like the amount of work, it's almost impossible that I'll ever be a grandmaster. Okay, 29 years old, pretty much impossible. Don't get me wrong, there'll be exceptions, and someone will be able to do it.
Right.
But for the most part, it's going to be impossible. Whereas literally anyone in the world could win a massive poker tournament. Like if I play a round of golf with Tiger Woods, never going to win a hole off him. If I play a game of tennis with Roger Federer, not going to win a game. So I think one of the beautiful things about poker is that it's a game that takes so little time to learn the rules, similar to chess in the sense that you can learn how the pieces move very quickly. Then it takes so long to master, but you always are in with a fighting chance due to the variance.
Right. That makes sense.
If you just had a system where you only played against the better people, like as much as I do think it works in chess, but the reality is like you can't have a tournament where it's an open invitation and anyone can feel like they have a shot. And I think that's what people love about poker. Like anyone can win it at any time.
Yeah,
right?
That's totally fair. Totally fair. Yeah, I don't disagree. I guess I was.
Well, I would love. We've talked about it. Me and my friends have talked about this extensively recently. Like, it would be great if we could have an ELO system to have a true number one recognized, because due to the variance, which like the standard deviation with the samples that we have, like it's actually impossible to know who is anywhere near the best. You can have an idea of who the top 20, 30, 40, 50 players are, but there's so much variance that one person could run bad in the big moments of their career for 15 times in a row. And I know 15 times doesn't like you can lose a 70% equity hand 15 times in a row, but if that's in the final two tables of massive fields that have thousands of people, and that's your chance to get your glory, your recognition,
mistakes, right?
Yeah, well, it's of course you make mistakes too, but like it's just like some people over their careers will run extremely badly, and some people will run really good. And it's the one thing about poker professionals is most of us ran very well at the beginning of our career to make it like a viable option. Because if I had deposited them $50 an extra 10 times, I might have been like, fuck this game. Whereas I had like that lucky bink at the start for a couple of grand, and it like pushed me on. But anyway, you can tell me where this went wrong.
You're talking about the game you played?
Yeah.
That's a great analogy, though. We'll get into a lot of these discussions, I think, the more we have coaching sessions. So I just invited you to a new board with Shaydock. If you want to click on a new tab, I invited you to.
Yes.
Can you see? I'm highlighting
what's red squares. Yeah.
Highlighting E4.
Oh,
you can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So good stuff to start. Now, do you normally start with the queen's pawn, or is that a random thing?
No, like so. I would have played I would have played the queen's gambit. I know that.
Okay.
And
great.
Then the other. Can I move these pieces?
Yeah. Go for it.
So the only two that I've been playing. All right. So I won't actually let me. I don't think. So it's like bishop to F4, and then the knight to.
Well, no, it won't let you move white because it's black to move. But you can go ahead, move the pieces how you want. If you want to move black, and then show me what a normal game might be like for you.
Well, if he went there, I would go there. I don't know the full opening to this, but if he takes, I would go to the center.
Wait.
So this is what.
So wait, D4. Are you sure you're in the right game? What square am I highlighting?
You're highlighting D5.
Okay, so go ahead and move black's pieces.
Yeah, and then I would go there. If he takes, I would go.
Up.
It's shown for me. Like my stream can see it moving.
Yeah, that's weird. It's not showing for me. It's a bug. Okay, so D4, D5. You would normally go here, right? Now you can see the pieces I'm moving.
Well, you've moved the bishop, right?
Yeah, bishop F4. You said you'd play.
Okay. No, like that would be the other one. If I wasn't going to play the queen's gambit, then I would do this, and then I'd bring the knight out.
Right. Okay.
And sometimes, like this is like you don't like the quick hacks, but like one of my friends was like a lot of. Like, so this is one thing I don't do it anymore, but like I used to like go after the So bring the knight to c3.
So let's say they
and
play here, and then you would.
Then I would go here.
Right, you would bring the knight out to c3. I'll play black, you play white, so I would go here.
And then if they left that open at my level, I would go here.
Okay.
For the potential. I don't do it anymore. But that was what I did.
Got it. Okay. But the reason I'm asking is because even though I said in the previous game, like I don't really believe in like trying to like guide someone's openings based on the style they want to play, but I do believe it's important to be consistent, especially at an early stage, because you decrease the learning curve when you're getting the same types of positions over and over again, because now you're seeing the same types of tactics, you're seeing the same type of pawn structure. So these are pieces of advice I was giving you about swim with the river. It's not just abstract anymore. You're like, oh, I've seen this bleep before. I just got to do this, right? So now if you ever get that same game you had the first time where you were black, it won't just be random crap that I said. You'll know to attack on that side of the board because we talked about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure before we start working together that you're not just randomly like, I grab this pawn, next time I grab this pawn, next time I grab this pawn, right? You're committing to something which is helpful. So d4, g6 is fine. You played e4, right? You're going for the center. This is exactly what you should do. Bishop to g7 is fine. You bring your pieces out. The truth is, to start this game, you had a great center, and there was nothing wrong with it. You bring the bishop out. You get castled. Fine. Here you play bishop g5, which is fine. You also could have played the move e5 to create kind of the pawn chain I talked about, where you get a bit of a spear, right?
Okay.
And if he moves the knight somewhere, he moves the knight backwards somewhere or to here. In some of these positions, you could now.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say you could do other things, kind of a quick attack, but you could try to bring pieces out to this side of the board where you might have a better chance for an attack, because whenever you have a pawn on e5, that means there's no knight on f6, because by definition you would have taken it if it was there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So whenever you have a pawn on e5, that's typically a very good signal that you can get an attack on the king side. And again, this isn't me like giving you, duplicit information. What have I said? You attack and swim in the direction of your furthest advanced pawn. Right? Yeah. So if you're white and you have a pawn on e5, your furthest advanced pawn, in the center is most likely this pawn, which is helping you go this direction, right? So that's another move you could have played. Bishop g5 was a great move. What was going to be your question?
So it's obviously the way you said the knight's going to move back, because I just want to know if I'm black here. Does it make absolutely the square that I ended up protecting, does it make absolutely no sense for him to bring his knight anywhere near there? So it does make sense.
Which square do you mean?
So eventually I moved h3 to protect against
right.
Knight.
Exactly. That's a good example of where you definitely should have just pushed, because you're seeing ghosts. Like his knight goes here, and what's he threatening?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I'm not gonna lie, Danny. The knight's moving weird ways.
I'm not trying to insult or whatever. I'm asking. I'm helping you understand.
As an insult.
Like the good part of like seeing ghosts, which is like we all stand at the top of a dark staircase in our attic and flick the light, and it's like, oh shit, the light's not coming on. I'm scared to go down the stairs. But why are you scared? There's nothing there.
Okay.
Nothing there. There's no ghost. Okay. Like, don't see a ghost, right? Now, actually, the knight is legit, like, about to get trapped, right? That's the truth, right? So the point is, don't see a ghost when there are times to recognize a threat, like if your bishop was here and it was going to take it, right? If the knight could come there and take it or something. But there's nothing there, especially when, let me put it this way. Okay, if I said you're swimming this direction, what direction are his pawns facing?
The opposite way.
Right.
Like
so take a look at this. Take a look at this.
Yeah.
What is he doing on this side of the board? Where are his pieces? He's not doing anything. Yeah. This knight is like a lost pony. It's literally playing on the side of the board. Is his bishop protecting it? No. Can his knight go here or here to protect it? No.
See the way his pawns are facing?
Right, I'm not trying to get too abstract, but I'm trying to help you realize this will help you not be afraid of things you don't need to be afraid of in the future, right?
No.
This knight is just like dumb. Like he's just lost, right? He's he's on a side of the board by himself. Like best case scenario, he gets kicked around a few more times. We attack him again, right? And then he goes here. And by the way, like you probably could have won the knight by force, because now he's like run out of squares. Like,
can I ask one thing though about his position now? Now obviously so see the way his pawns are set up. he should be bringing his pieces to to your right hand side of the board.
Yep.
But my king's on the other side, right? So that is that still the same rule?
Well, exactly. But that's a him problem, meaning he's already not played a great opening. If I was Shaydog's coach right now, E6 with G6 is a recipe for disaster in this position, because like he's creating all kinds of weaknesses, and these pawns are going to face this direction. What he should have played was what you did, which is D6. Okay. He should be trying to fight for the dark squares because he's Fiend Kettled a bishop. Like, he should be trying to do what you did, which is play for E5. Like, E6 is no good.
Okay.
So that's the answer.
No,
like,
I wasn't trying to obviously like shit on Shadow. I just interested like do you still...
No, it's helpful. It's helpful. I only didn't just because of whatever. Like we could talk forever. So like he creates like a pawn storm facing a direction where like his queen can't help. His knights are kind of not in the best spot, and probably the best thing for you to do. Like, by the way, we've been highlighting E5 just because for whatever reason in the previous game we were talking about pawn structure. Yeah. The truth is, in this position, your rook is also aligned with his queen. You could have just taken him, and actually this pawn is pinned, and you're just winning material.
Yeah. Yeah, that's annoying that I missed that, because like I actively decided not to take that because I was thinking I would lose my rook.
Whenever you have a lesser valued piece on the same line, meaning file or diagonal of a more valued piece, you always want to look for stuff like that, right? Like this is Queen E8 was not a good square for Shaydog. If I was Shaydog's coach, I would have said that his bad plan started probably with E6. Like, bro, why you doing that? Here's what Black's supposed to do. The reason you play D6 is because now in this position they can go for a King's Indian plan, which is what you did, where the pawns face this direction and we swim this way with the river, okay? Or you can go for like a Benoni structure where you play C5, and in this way, you're creating space on this side of the board, which, by the way, works very well with this ninja sitting on G7, because what happens is they're like, oh, I'm going to push it. I don't want him to take me. And now this bishop is spying this entire long diagonal. Just because you don't have an immediate tactic doesn't mean your pieces aren't primed to do bad things in the long run. Right.
Can I ask one thing for Shaydog? He said, I don't understand the question, because he said ask about E5 instead of or E1.
Instead of rook E1? Sorry.
So I get, he said ask about...
Shaydog says ask about E5 instead of rook E1. So white, he's asking whether white should have played E5 instead of rook E1, I assume. And I think he's probably right. Instead of rook E1, E5. Yeah, E5 actually was just winning a piece. Good call, Shaydog. Yep. Okay. And the reason is that the knight is pinned to the queen. So whenever, again, we're kind of going through fast. And as a coach, I'm like kind of like, oh, focus on this. And I'm just trying to give you advice.
No.
At this point, you're kind of like drinking from the water hose of like chess knowledge. So you're just trying to catch as much as you can as it like sprays in your face. You know, like
no. But we spent a lot of time doing theory that's solid and rules. And this is just identifying when I have pins.
Some tactics. I wanted to see your opening so that in future lessons we can go over that and we can be like, hey, like here's how you would adjust to that, right? But this move, E5, attacks the knight, who's pinned to the queen, and it would win a piece because his only chance is to attack your bishop, like intermezzo, but now you get to take, and when he takes you, you get a second piece. So you get two pieces, he only got one.
Yeah.
So that, you're right, Shaydog, that would have been even better. So in general, I was kind of distracted with the idea of focusing on like the closed pawn chain, but the truth is you already missed the tactic here to win a piece.
Yeah.
And then on rook E1, you could have taken here as well, right? Which is why Shaydog played queen E8. So even though I was critical of queen E8 for good reason, like it's not a good square for the queen, it puts the queen here. Probably Shaydog should have played like H6 to try to deal with the pin and try to get you to like trade or something, because putting the queen here would have allowed this. But the point is, Shaydog did that because he was worried about the fact that he missed E5 on the previous move, clearly because he saw that. Anyway, but the reason I wanted to go through is because your position was still fine, even with H3, which was unnecessary. Let's just take an objective view. Forget about how we got here. Forget about the move orders of whether there were mistakes earlier, which there were. You could have maybe won more material. You have a great center. Every one of your pieces is developed. Okay? Yeah. You're doing great. He takes, you take. He takes, you take. This was not your critical mistake losing the game. This is good. In this particular position, you played C4. Not a bad move. I think D5, trying to open up whenever you have a lesser value piece on a greater value, Like, if you had done this, this is a good thing to keep in mind. Like, anytime you have a lesser valued piece on a greater valued piece, like on the same line, just look for tactics there, because if any trade happens, your lesser value piece is better to give up than his greater value, right? So anytime you have pieces on a similar line, diagonal or file, that's where it creates tactical tension. You can look to open up the board. So if takes here, you could have taken here, and it's a discovered attack, because if he takes your bishop, you win his queen.
Yeah. That's pretty tidy. That's pretty nice.
So d5 is in, but again, more on, I don't like to be as like specific on, oh, and move 11. If you ever get this exact position again, do this. Like,
I know.
You know,
well, but it's not just that, because you're telling me to look out for
exactly,
the pieces
it's
that
the
are
bigger
more
picture.
value.
You know, when pieces are on the same line. So you played c4, takes, but again, things are going okay here. I would say in general, a bishop in the open board is worth more than a knight. So this was a nice move that like kind of feels good. It attacks the knight, but actually this bishop was probably a more valuable piece. I would have just backed it up and kept it. Like, this is a good piece, right? This is it's controlling a lot of squares. You can actually play b4 on the next move. Maybe keep the piece there. So b4, he trades. We take. Everything. The reason I want to go through forward even more is because none of this was really a bad position for you until we got to here. And this is where I said, when I made the poker player analogy, where I said you're very good at like recognizing your opponent's threats. And I think that, and again, I'm going to make a general statement here, which is going to sound like a chess player stereotyping poker players. I'm just going to do it.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Poker players are actually very good at recognizing their opponent's threats, because the game, to be successful at poker, you have to be like constantly reading the room. There's like a reactive sense of like what's going on, where like you already know your hand and everything. What makes someone win in poker, the hand is like one thing, but like everything that you're calculating is often based on reacting to everything else in the room. Like betting patterns, facial expressions, the pot odds, everything else. You guys are constantly in reaction to moves that your opponents make. I'm telling you, I've seen it before with other poker players. Sense. We did a game we did a hand and brain thing with Liv and Daniel,
really?
and yeah, and like you like very good at like Liv is actually a very good chess player, but I don't know if you knew that. She's like,
I'm not surprised. She's very
good. But like the overarching tendency on a personality level, because chess is psychology, kind of like poker, is to react to your opponent's moves, because that's honestly how you're good at poker. Because like the hand itself could be beaten by something else on the river. You're like, you had pocket aces, but that guy just reacted on the river based on his betting pattern. You're like, oh my god, I've got him on like 2 jacks, and now he just got his 3rd jack. So you're like, basically what makes you win is actually properly reacting, not following through necessarily all the time. And like in this position, he's not even threatening anything. The pawn is pinned, and you already react and back up. And like the next move, he goes here, and you're already like, you're worried about this, which actually creates more problems. You're like moving the knight out of the way, which ends up setting up like I feel like you just get very defensive. You get very defensive.
No, I definitely do. 100%.
So, like, what are the concrete things to think about? Ask yourself in positions. It's the same reason I was critical of knight g4 earlier. It's not because h3 was a horrible move by you. Like, yes, you had better moves. But the point is, you're defending against something because your mindset is so focused on what your opponent's going to do all the time, you're not even thinking about your advantages. Like, your advantages in the position are bigger than whether you stop knight g4 or not. Right?
Yeah.
And, like, here, like, as the game goes on, you're kind of reacting to what your opponent is doing. And I just started noticing it. I was sitting here silent and trying not to interject, but like
when I moved the knight there, I thought I just didn't do it right. For a second, I thought I was going to be able to get his pawn. By the way, so I missed the bishop for a second, so I thought I was going to be able to take.
By the way, he could have just taken you and doubled your pawns. Yeah, that would have been ugly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But he saw the checkmate on g2, so he's like, oh, I'm into that, right? So, but then you move the knight away, f6, and again, you're worried about the threat here. So all you're focused on is eliminating this battery, forgetting that you've got the bishop hanging over here. So you traded
in my head, I was going to force him into check. Like it obviously makes no sense, but just for like in my head for a second, I was like, I'm going to force him to check, then I'm going to check, and then I'm going to move my bishop. But obviously, I just didn't. It just
right. Okay, I see. Forgot. You're like, oh, he's in check, and I'll have time to save my bishop later.
Yeah.
But but he trades, and you lose your bishop. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I think that after this, you did fine. You were down a piece, so you did your best. I mean, obviously, knight takes wasn't ideal because he's pinning the knight to the rook,
Yeah.
and that kind of makes it worse. But you were only down a piece, and you know, there's like nothing wrong with how you play this. You were down a piece, and Shadok did a good job of kind of being pretty ruthless here. He goes after your f2 pawn and kind of crushes you, honestly. But
Yeah.
so good for Shadok. But if I was to give, you know, the overall thing even earlier, like, I don't think you're always looking for your most aggressive options, and that would be just something to challenge yourself on. Like, you tend to be thinking about what his next move is. Like, think about some of your more aggressive options. Maybe you have better ideas earlier. You know, we had E5
The truth
earlier.
is, with obviously this, like, now that you've obviously pointed out this E5 pawn, it's very clear. But when it's like in terms of like sacrificing a pawn to like just get a pawn off him, I don't really know when I'm meant to take. Like, see, obviously this would have won a piece before when I had to pin on the queen. Like, when it's just pawns and there's like a tension, I don't know when I'm meant to take the pawn, really, very often. We don't need to go into it right now because you're after spending way more time than I expected you. We've been on for ages. Like, I really appreciate it on a
we're
Friday
having
night.
a great time. It's like 4 a.m. for you, so
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
So it's kind of like, it's a little bit too vague to answer quickly, right? That's not a cop out, but it is a good question.
I can imagine. It's like when someone, it's the same in poker. The people ask me vague questions. I wasn't actually asking. I was just saying I don't understand it. But
well, one of the things is, so there are a couple like really quick takeaways, right? In this case, there was a tactic because you have a lesser value piece on a greater value piece, and whenever if that already changes your mindset about the long range pieces, the rooks and the bishops, thinking about lines like that would just help you see those tactics in the future. But there's a very like simple criteria you can use for whether you should like take or push a pawn, right, or maintain the tension. And the answer is this: does doing so give my pieces more squares than they currently have or not? And so there's like a very common let me create like a made-up position real quick. Forget about how we get here because it's irrelevant. Forget about the queen hanging. I don't care. Okay, like we're gonna get something just kind of like, what am I trying to create? I'm trying to create a position that's like kind of nutty, and so I'm purposely making weird moves to prove like a pawn tension point. So the point is, like, here's a pawn tension. It's on the edge of the board. Forget about how we got here. Okay, and it's a position that is hard for black because if black takes. Sorry, that's right. It's white to move. So let's say white does something. Well, actually, we'll make a good move for white. We'll go here. If black takes, he's legit giving white more squares. White takes, and now white has an open file that in the previous position, white didn't have. Okay? So that tension favors white. So the reason that, like, rook a2 might be a legit move is because what white's saying is this. Look, there's pawn tension here. But I don't need to take, because if you ever take me, you give my pieces more squares than they currently have. So I can build on that tension like water against a dam. Just build up, right? That's pawn tension in my favor. So I build up. And the problem for black is like, oh crap. So if I leave it, this move is going to double rooks. He's going to double, and then he's going to eventually take it, and he's going to screw me down the A file here. Like, I'm in huge trouble. Okay? I can't just sit here and let him build up on this tension, right? But if I take it, he takes it, and now he gets more pieces than he previously had. Right? So the point is, so that's one example, but here's something that like a weaker player might do. A weaker player might say, oh, look at the queen here. Let me attack that queen. I broke the tension of the pawns, and I get to gain a tempo on the queen. But here's the problem. Does this move A5, does this move A5 give white more squares than white previously had for the pieces?
No.
No. So A5 is a bad move. It's a really good example of gaining a tempo, makes us get all riled up inside. I attacked his queen, booyah, right? But what does this do? Does this give your pieces more than they previously had?
No, it closes it off more, if anything.
Okay. I just realized I said something in a really weird way when I was teaching you. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I know it's all good. It's all good.
But you get what I'm saying, right? The the point is the A file here is going to be dominated by white, and there's nothing to do here because if you take, you give white more squares. Otherwise, you're sitting on it, and white's just going to build up on that tension, and they're going to take, if they're smart, and open up that file to control that side of the board. But a lot of beginner players will say, I played here to attack his queen.
Okay, but let's say, right, so if black takes, we get to take and we get more squares. But if he doesn't take, we're going to move our rook forward and bring another one over. So, like, does he have any solution here, or is he just in a really bad spot, basically?
Obviously, I set this up in like a made-up way, right? I was trying to answer the question about pawn tension. So
okay, I'm just. This is like you'll get. I'm just going to always ask questions.
No, it's a great question. It's a great question. So what I'm saying is, I was trying to prove a point about pawn tension. Now, let's say this can apply to other things, right? It can apply to center pawns and all kinds of stuff. Because it is a good question. Black is worse, quote unquote. Black is not lost here. Black is worse in this situation because black has a bad choice, right? Black doesn't know what to do here because white is in control over the tension on the A file, right? So, to answer your question about the other position, like how do you know when to make a trade? Again, this is an awkward game. Like you could have pushed and won a piece. We'll forget that like you could have traded and win a pawn. So tactics always override strategy. The advice I'm giving you right now is more strategically based, right? It's strategical. Yeah. It's like I'm asking you to think about the little things. So if you ever have a chance to just win a piece, obviously you should just do that because the knight is pinned to the queen, right? But the point is that the general question that could be asked is, does this trade, does this push of the pawn give my pieces more squares than was currently available, right? And that answers the question. It basically tells you like, oh, okay, like this. So I was remember I said you asked a tough question from the start, right? Because it's kind of like it's very hard, and every unique situation can be different. But in general, a very good criteria that I was trying to explain with that pawn tension is, if the trade gives your pieces more squares than was previously available, it's something you can rank like, all right, that's probably not the worst thing, right? Whether that's an open file, whether that's a new square for your knight or your bishop, right? If it doesn't, you might consider a push. Well, as we saw in the other example, a5 would be a push, but in that case, it would be a really bad push because it gives white no more squares. It's a one-move tempo. We make one-move threats all the time as beginner players. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, my position didn't get crap out of that, right? So that's just that's what I was trying to answer is, what is the criteria? The criteria to rank is, does this move give my pieces more squares or not? And it's a very quick TLDR of the options that you can go for, and hopefully that helps. But every position is specific too.
Of course. Now, people ask me questions all the time in poker where they ask me basically to explain an extremely difficult concept in like a 3-word answer or something, like a 3-sentence answer. It's like, that's just not possible. But if you give me a specific situation, I can tell you what you would do the way you've just done for me. So exact same kind of thing, I would say. But so I really do appreciate it, man.
Okay. Yes, hopefully that helps. So pawn tension is a tricky thing. In general, I will say the beginner player, and this is again a universal kind of blanket statement. Certainly there's exceptions, but it's a good question you're asking because in general, beginner players actually probably break tension, or they make those critical decisions sooner than they should. If I was to rank beginner mistakes, most beginners are more likely to make the mistake of taking a pawn or pushing it too early when the right answer was to build on the tension. If I had to rank it, it's probably like 70-30 below a certain level, right? As you get better, the complications or the decisions, because you're weighing different criteria, might become trickier. In general, I would say be patient when it comes to trades. Like, be willing to build on tension, let the tension sit. And at the same time, I'm saying that in a position in a game where you had two options to whatever.
Of course,
but you know what? I would say in general, general opportunities are often, we get impatient more than we are willing to build on it. It's a thing. Probably similar to poker, right? Beginner players probably aren't as patient as they should be, if I had to guess.
100%. No, 100%. They play too many hands. They don't want to just wait for the ones they should play. Yeah, no, 100%. I really do appreciate it, man. I did not expect you to spend 3 hours on a Friday evening coaching me, but it really...
you need to go to bed.
I'm going
to be your dad right now.
Schedule.
You need to go to bed.
This is my normal schedule. I don't get up until 1, 2 p.m. Don't worry.
Really?
This is normal. Yeah. Well, I mean, I play poker until this time, so like I need to be not sleepy. So this is standard stuff for us. You haven't kept me up. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And
Well,
hopefully
are
we'll get
you
to do
gonna
it
still
again.
stream? Are you going to bed now?
I'm done. I'm
Okay,
done.
me too.
I can.
Um,
Oh, you're done as well.
Me
Okay,
too.
sweet.
I asked because I'm gonna end my stream and I'll send my viewers elsewhere.
All
I
right.
only have
Well, I'll let.
95. I'm sure you have a lot more. So
Well, we still have. We held on to 1,300 viewers at 4 o'clock in the morning when we're playing chess. So I would like to say thank you very much. A lot of people in the chat were asking questions that I didn't want to cut across you when you were giving your thought process, but a lot of them were very thankful that you came on, and hopefully
cool.
we will get to do this again in the
Yeah, dude.
future. So
Let's do it. We'll do it next week too.
I have to get my so if you could, I don't, the only thing is I don't know how tough Fridays are for you, but this month is like I have poker every day, and so like I'm like I could potentially do it tonight. I finish early, but I just don't know what time. If you can do it on a Friday, I can give you my comp schedule because it's going to be guaranteed next Friday. But if not, I can I can give you a schedule. I'll send you a DM on Discord.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And we can
We'll
work
chat
out
on
what day
on
will suit
Discord.
for both of us. Because I don't want to be like trying to lock you up for every single Friday for 2 hours because your wife will hate me. So I don't want to be doing that.
My wife is already so mad at me. It doesn't matter. Someone in my chat just said checkers is better than chess. That person is now banned forever. So,
Right.
no,
I'm gonna hang up on the Zoom call, and we will see you on here again. If anyone's not already following, it is !Danny in chat. We'll give you all the information. And of course, if you want to play chess on the platform that we're playing on, it is on chess.com. You can sign up for free and you can play for free. So I really appreciate it, mate. And we will do it again soon. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Awesome. Enjoy your night, and
Peace.
I'll see you later.